Time to set the stage with the lights off. Let the little nigga breathe till the fight's lost. You ain't never like the room with the bright sauce. Hail Mary, they despise what the light brought. Let them roach niggas bleed if they can't see. sa.neter TV, what you can't be. They say that murder on my mind, now they can't breathe. Take a picture of the crew, that's your last peep. Oh, and need me your love, yeah, that's just me. Keep them jumping like some frogs, so they might be leave what the sun say. And they don't really wanna bleed from the gunplay. And like mine, niggas smoking weed on the one-way street, nigga. Yeah, we see we outside with it. Pull up to debates like we might be with it on guard. Side these niggas like bullshit and they fraud. Let me chop them down with the sword. Walk them down like they live hard. This the toughest you gon' be in, we too hard. And you don't really want that smoke, my G. Would be sa.neter TV. This the toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Keep that off your lip before you get flipped. We got sources over here, we don't just spit. Too many bosses over here, y'all just legit. Put them niggas in the game, let them get real. Don't even step unless you come in with that scholarship. That economic tip, gotta make a dollar flip. And I might be next, I don't give a damn, a truth rolling with me, so I'm feeling like the son of man. Too many gon' hate, gotta make a stand. I'm just trying to duck the lake, you don't understand. Read them when I greet them, that's my best plan. Head first shit, I'm just saying. Nigga meet me in LA, oh you just playing. Too many be fake, what the base saying. So I tell them they don't want no smoke before they end up in the newspaper next day. Smoke, this the toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. The toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. And this is it right here. The toughest you gon' ever be in. You wasn't conscious before us. Y'all niggas was asleep. We woke the sleeping giant. We did it. sa.neter TV. So stay your ass in your little bitty box where you feel safe. Cause it's motherfucking monsters over here. Real monsters.
Peace and Pan-Africanism to Brother Herman Smalls in the toughest environment you can be in.
You just look at what you say. You say, he's the earth. Yes. He's putting his earth in his mouth.
Like in the
Time to
scriptures,
set the stage with the lights off.
when it talks about something being spewed out, whether it's metaphorically or not, it never has to do with a rod in a man's mouth.
He put his seed in his own mouth. He put his earth in his mouth. Listen, you can make a lot of noise.
Nowhere in there is what seems to be a very homosexual message.
Just look at what you say. You say, he's the earth. Yes. He's putting his earth in his mouth.
Like in the scriptures, when it talks about something being spewed out, whether it's metaphorically or not, it never has to do with a rod in a man's mouth.
He put his seed in his own mouth. He put his earth in his mouth. Listen, you can make a lot of noise.
Nowhere in there is what seems to be a very homosexual message.
Homosexuality is intercourse between the same sex, right?
if you thought you were looking at a man putting his rod in his mouth, first of all, you're not looking at a man put a rod in his mouth. You are looking at Geb. And you know who Geb is? Chaataza, do you know what Geb is? Geb is the personification of what?
If I'm not mistaken, he wasn't the earth, right?
He is the earth.
The earth, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
He's the earth. So that when you actually see seed going into the earth, you should understand that you're seeing seed in the earth. I think I saw somebody eat an apple earlier. If you uncomfortable with that, then maybe you got Geb seed in your mouth right now. If you uncomfortable with that, then maybe you uncomfortable with that, then maybe you got Geb seed in your mouth right now. You got Geb seed in your mouth right now. So I just want you to be clear that if you are untrained and unfamiliar, maybe you don't understand what you're seeing, and so you should ask someone about it. So Geb is the earth. Geb is not a man at all. Geb's phallus, his henonum, is not in his mouth, right? And we are talking about how seed comes forth from the earth.
You on live on Cross the Line Radio. Y'all can get down every Thursday night, 10 p.m. to midnight. We have a radio show where we go over current events, we go over hot topics, we go over scripture breakdown. Sometimes we have special guests. This evening, we got a special guest in the house. We got two of them. Only one will be on the show.
House of Conscience member.
The brother that'll be on the show as a guest is Brother Jabari. I'll let him introduce himself momentarily.
The Floyd Mayweather of consciousness.
We have my man sa.neter. He's no stranger to working with myself, ISUPK. As far as I know, he's a good brother, except when he talked that bullshit about Kemetic great or something like that. But they decided to come down
to cross the line
to the show so that we can have a decent discussion. My time with Jabari, I think I've had 3 interactions with him. One, we sat down and we was talking about creation, so to speak. That was my first introduction to you. The second one, I was actually at his house when he did a debate with Divine Prospect. Huh?
That was the first one. The debate was before.
The debate was before we sat down and was talking about it? Okay, so maybe I could have it wrong. And then the last one, we was on the street and we was having a conversation. He didn't like that I was saying, I don't know if I called him soft or I don't know what it was. But it was something like that. But the brother has been running all across on different platforms, having discussions with different Israelites, different topics. He's made some statements against ISUPK. He's made statements against the Bible in the sense of saying that it's misogynistic because it's patriarchal.
So I thought a while ago, I said I wasn't going to debate Kim, and this is not necessarily a debate. This is something where we could sit Jabari down, ask him some questions one-on-one, and see if he can take it. And that's what we're here to do. We're going to bring out some things he said. We're going to ask him some questions. But before that, I do want to let him actually introduce himself. So, Brother Jabari, you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and you can speak whenever you want.
Peace. Peace, family. This is Jabari Osaze.
You got to turn it on.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly now.
This is Brother Jabari Osaze. I'm pleased to be here in the ISUPK school, right in Harlem. It's a powerful place to be, and I am honored that the brothers have welcomed me here. Just as Captain Tazaryach has said, our first meeting was actually in my shrine. So he came to our shrine and had a really, I think, a powerful debate with our brother Divine Prospect. So in many ways, I thought it was appropriate for me to do the same, to come and talk with our brothers from the ISUPK.
Right.
I want to be really clear that I actually I would not be here if I didn't view you as my brothers.
That's what.
Right, and so I really want us to be able to have a fruitful dialogue. I don't think I've said things against ISUPK, but I have disagreed with some of the teachings that I've heard. Not to say that I'm an expert by any means, but certainly I've had some disagreements around some of the things that I've heard. And I have said that the Bible has a problem with misogyny. That is accurate.
Okay.
And so those are things that we can talk about. In terms of who I am, because I know I'm talking to an audience that may not be as familiar with me, I'm a historian and I'm a Kemetic priest. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the word Kemet, we're talking about the original name of the land that today is known as Egypt. So essentially, as a historian, I have spent all of my adult life really studying ancient Africa, studying our people, and trying to understand exactly who we are and from whence we come from. And as a Kemetic priest, my tradition, notice I had mentioned being an African first, because I think that sometimes people think that I'm rocking Kemet and all the rest of the world can just, disappear. And in actuality, I'm an African. My spiritual tradition comes from Kemet. And so I am a Kemetic priest. I've studied Kemetic spirituality for nearly 30 years. In fact, I actually was initiated into a Kemetic house 20 years ago this year. So it is an important milestone for me.
Okay.
Other than that, you've probably seen me do many things. You know that I actually have traveled on the continent extensively, along with a group called the African Genesis Institute. I have taken over 3,000 people of African descent to the continent. And so that's been something that I've truly appreciated. And
I love her.
I have.
I love Empress segment. Not to cut you
to
off.
Kemet for my last trip in November was my 15th trip. So I've traveled extensively on the continent and truly believe that taking our people to see our native homeland is of critical importance to our development. So
I noticed you said you spent all your life
on my adult life.
Oh, your adult life.
Right.
Now, I think you also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you also have a Catholic background as well.
I was raised Catholic. I was raised Roman Catholic.
Okay, and then you stopped that when you became like 18 or in your adulthood, or is it something you stopped as a teenager?
This is interesting. No one really has asked me that question. That's a good, we're already starting off with Captain asked me some tough questions. You know what? When I was in high school, I actually certainly was questioning the dogma of the Roman Catholic Church. And some of you may not know this, but that was when, there may be video somewhere floating around, you'll see a young Jabari Osaze standing downtown listening to who? Listening to the Hebrew Israelite brothers.
Okay.
So I've actually been aware of you for a very long time and admired some of your work for a very long time as well. So, so that was the period of questioning. It wasn't until I was 18 that I actually could say that I became an adherent of Kemetic spirituality.
Okay.
It was at that time.
Okay, I appreciate that. So one of the questions I wanted, we have a few questions and things, I guess, to discuss.
Sure.
And
can I say something really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm here. I have heard some people say that our brother sa.neter, who is in the house, peace to sa.neter, and I'm pleased that he's here. I've heard some people say sa.neter defends me and all of this stuff. And I want to be really clear that whenever brothers gather and have important conversations, I would like to count myself amongst that group. So this is not a situation where anyone has protected me. I enjoy talking to brothers about important issues, and so I'm glad that you've welcomed me here.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it.
The side saves all of y'all.
Listen, it's damn near by default. When sa.neter see you struggling, he gonna come in.
I think that the folks can actually see those videos. I honestly believe that sa.neter has never saved me from struggling. Sometimes we have tough conversations. Look at the videos. Sometimes when sa.neter interrupts, I say, I was saying something. How you interrupt me?
Like when we sat down.
So there are many times that I actually disagree with it as well.
Yeah.
When we sat down with the creation story, I actually, and I know you get upset when I said this, you put your Nikes on and you ran away a little bit, but that's okay.
Okay, yeah.
So.
You said I put my Nikes on?
Yeah.
See, it's different when you say that because when I come down there, I only come for so long because I'm running a camp.
Sure.
So I think that time frame was like an hour or so that I spent.
And you should know I'm teasing you a little bit too.
No, see the thing about it is I don't mind that teasing.
Right.
Just don't mind my shit back. My shit just a little hard.
The deal.
Like, see, the difference is like you like a You know, like you like a cordial tease.
Here's the deal.
I'm
I don't
more
have
like
any problem.
aggressive tease.
I used to actually deal with brothers who are in prison. I'm used to people talking in harsh language. That's not the issue. Okay. I didn't take issue with you calling me soft either, because I thought that was funny. I took issue with you saying that you didn't respect me. That was what I took issue with. And if you look at the video, you'll note that that is what I took issue with, because regardless of our disagreements, I have always said that I respect Captain Tazaryach, I respect the work he's doing in our community. So when you say you didn't respect me, that's what I took issue with.
I'm going to let Chaataza ask his first question.
Sure. And peace to Chaataza, by the way.
Okay, appreciate it.
What's going on? Okay, so it actually segues kind of perfect off that question. That so you were in Roman Catholicism, you started waking up, you see different, for lack of a better term, black power organizations, you understand, such as the ISUPK, in the city, so on and so forth. So, I went through a similar walk of life. I was raised Catholic, you understand, and then I knew that was bullshit, you understand, all the dogmas, so on and so forth, you understand, but then when I came into the truth, or you understand, not that this knowledge, I had to change. I couldn't sell drugs anymore. I couldn't get high anymore.
That's right.
You understand? There was a lot of different aspects. I had to leave every American holiday alone. So you understand? So my first question is, that's because of the laws of the Bible. So what I want to know is whether it's a papyrus, whether it's a book, a maxim, a pyramid text, coffin text, whatever it is that you understand you can find, you understand, in the catalog of Egypt. You understand what part of the Kemetic spirituality or culture, you understand, stops somebody from getting high or from selling drugs or doing any of those things? Like where is the moral foundation that could prevent a drug dealer or a drug user?
I think that you've mentioned several things. I'd actually say all of them, and I know that sounds like it's not an answer, but honestly, all of them prevent you from doing that. You have spoken extensively. I'm not sure if you've read it, but I know you've spoken extensively about the 42 Laws of Ma'at. The 42 Laws of Ma'at are actually a later crystallization. It's from the New Kingdom. Kemet was old when the 42 Laws came into existence. But in actuality, Kemetic spirituality, Kemetic philosophy, and the 42 Laws of Ma'at, you will see prohibitions against those sorts of things.
So give me one, like you understand?
Well, there are a bunch of them, actually. I would...
Just, if I may, you know,
sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
If somebody was to say, where can't you be a drug dealer? I would say, well, straight in the scriptures, it says, we suffer a witch not to live. And then I would describe why a drug dealer is a witch. Because the same way that witch makes that brew in a cauldron, whips something up to alter your mind, that's the same thing that a drug dealer does when look at the flick of their wrist, you understand, so on and so forth. Whatever the case may be, or you could see in the scriptures that you're not supposed to taint your temple, so on and so forth. So that's what I mean by specifics.
I think that the first thing you would have to do is understand Kemetic philosophy and spirituality, and reciprocity is one of the fundamental laws, right? And so when you are actually dealing drugs, when you are developing and engaging yourself in relationships that are usury, let's use the word usury now, that is against Ma'at. There are many laws of Ma'at that are against that. I have not caused terror. I have not fouled the water. There are so many, there are many different ways that you actually can speak against that sort of living. And I'll say to you honestly, I didn't sell drugs, right? But I did a lot of other stuff, right? And clearly, coming into the tradition meant that I couldn't do those things anymore. I made a joke recently with someone and I said, you can't carry your ankh into the strip club, right? You know what I mean? And as a Kemetic priest, for those of you who haven't seen me, I have to carry around a large ankh. My ankh is 2 pounds of silver. You can't actually do things in many ways that are profane when you have taken your life into your own hands. So that's really the way that I approach it. So
if I could, the approach on this show is a little different than like other platforms or whatever. Like we like the question to get answered. And so the question he asked was, if he say drug dealing is wrong, he would go in the scriptures where it says, I suffer not to wish to live. I just gave you a few, actually. Maybe you didn't hear me. I'll say them again. Say them again if you like. Please say them again one more time. Let's go for a few of them. Let's say 13, I have not dealt deceitfully, right? That's one of the ones. That's drug dealing? Sure. Yes. You don't think drug dealing is dealing deceitfully?
You hearing something different than I am?
No.
Oh,
it's not really
okay.
answering the question. It's like,
well, listen.
That's kind of like
what I'm saying to you. Wait, let me answer the question.
That's like a blanket term, right?
Fully. Let me answer it fully. Well, you said
it's not. If I may, it's not as direct as, for example,
as not being a witch.
When I pulled up the witch, I went a little bit more in depth. Whereas it's more vague when you say I have not dealt deceitfully. That sounds more like lying.
Yeah, this is.
Well, no.
Like I lied to the brother
Dealing
about
deceitfully
this.
is talking about the
That's not
challenge
really
of the
drug dealing.
relationships that you build and creating relationships that are not equitable for people. So dealing deceitfully, when you're a drug dealer, you know you are selling that high. You tell them anything they want to hear, they need to hear to be able to get high. Being a drug dealer, let me finish. Being a drug dealer is being as deceitful as you possibly can be, because you know what situation someone who is going to. So
you would show them ancient culture.
Others.
So you would show them ancient culture dealing with today's time. Like you would go to the drug dealers, and that's what you would give them.
Actually, there's several other things I would do too. As a Kemetic priest and an adherent of the Kemetic tradition, you may know that we actually deal very comprehensively with the human body. And we fast. Most Kemetic people are vegetarian. We don't foul our bodies.
Make sure you read that.
So there are many different ways that I would approach that. Before I even read them, a law from the 42. It's the way that you live that is based in divine balance. And so for my perspective, and I know that when I deal with people who are in the Hebrew Israelite tradition, they always say, well, what are in the laws, right? I would say to you that even before you know the laws, if you're in a tradition, you're clear about the spirit of your tradition.
But we know the people that we're talking about are not in the spirit of any tradition.
I got you. That's why I read to you a law. I can read to you a few others if you want to.
No, you don't have to read. You want to read the definition. Go read that definition.
But I also don't think...
Having a tendency or disposition
first you have to tell us where it's from.
Or give false impressions. Now that's what I was going to ask.
Where's it from?
On top of this.
Where's it from though? You have to tell us where you're reading it from.
I'm going to in one moment. But now, so for example, this is deceitful in a modern sense of what we know. So I'm pulling this from a Merriam-Webster's dictionary. So what I'm going to ask you is, for example, because I made a post on Facebook about this today. Most people don't understand the Bible because they'll try to understand it from a Western or Greek understanding of the words when you have to understand it according to Hebrew culture, which we can do. So what I'm saying is, if that's the case and this is not the proper context of that word, can you elaborate on how you would get the context you're speaking of for that word?
Well, let me say two things. First of all, you say that they read it in Greek. You do follow New Testament?
Yeah. We just want you to answer the question.
Much of it is written in Greek.
But we just want you to answer. We just want you to answer the question about how would you convey it.
Well, I've answered it several times.
No.
If it's not
his question that he just asked you. We looked up the word deceitful. You read deceitful. We looked up the word deceitful, and then you brought up the language.
Now let me ask you.
So we want you to correlate the deceitful or that language. One second. We want you to correlate your context into the drug dealing context. So how would you take that and make the correlation?
So let's read the definition one more time.
Do you have it still?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Okay.
Deceitful, having tendencies or disposition to deceive or give false impressions.
When you deal drugs, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to tell them about your high. You're going to tell them what they're going to get. When you know very well that what they're really going to get, they're going to lose their teeth, they're going to lose their family, they're going to lose their home, definitely this is dealing deceitfully. Definitely this is dealing deceitfully.
Now my part two to that question is, where is that being displayed by you or any of your other Kemetic brothers on the streets where the drug dealers are at?
Where's it being displayed? I'm not sure if I understand your
ISUPK is known for being on the streets dealing directly with the drug dealers, the thieves, the murderers, whores, abortionists, etc. If you're saying that that law can get drug dealers to stop dealing drugs, where are you or your Kemetic brothers on the streets doing just that to get them off of drugs?
I think that many of our Kemetic teachers, and it's not just brothers because it's also sisters,
either one.
Many of us are actually indoors. One of the critiques, and I'm even.
So you don't go outside?
No, we do. But
that's my question.
Well, let me
see. Like when we first started, before we started, I said it won't be a lot of filibustering on the show.
This is not filibustering.
No, I want to give you my premise. So maybe we'll stop interrupting, and you could be more concise. Let that be the key word. Be concise with your answers. So when I say filibustering, we don't need a long drawn out thing. We just need to get right to the point because we got a lot that we want to go over.
Sure.
So a lot of times when you're getting cut off is because you're doing too much instead of just being very concise to the point. So the question that I asked was, where are you, brothers or sisters, because you said y'all women can do it too.
That's right.
Where are you or your Kemetic brothers or sisters on the corners where the drug dealers are at? The drug dealers ain't in the house, they're outside. So where are you on the corners to address that directly?
Let me say something that I think you might not expect to hear me say. People who are part of the tradition need to be in the street more. I think that we are too often behind closed doors. Very often you will see Kemetic adherents, people who are actually following the tradition, not just studying history, because I think sometimes you confuse people who simply study history. I don't mean you as in.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean people.
I got you covered.
Confuse people who are just studying history with people who actually are part of Kemetic traditions, right? Mm-hmm. We are always inside doing detoxes. You could even look at some of the work. This is probably the best work.
When you say detoxing, you talk about cleaning your system from the drugs.
Your system from drugs and other things that we're addicted to. So it's not just
right.
It's white sugar.
All right, real quick, y'all. I'm gonna have to start giving commentary because when you listen to Captain Tazaryach's questioning and Chaataza, as if they are out there stopping drug dealers. Where do you see ISUPK on the corner with drug dealers stopping them from selling drugs? Come on, Captain. You got to stop this, brother. You and Captain Chaataza, y'all got to stop it, man, because you making it look like y'all out there stopping the drug dealers. The Nation of Islam was doing that a long time ago. They was walking through the projects and all of that, brother. But we don't see no Hebrew Israelites out there stopping no drug dealer. If you ain't got money to put in their pocket, you ain't stopping them. They got to pay their rent. They got to put food on their table, and they got to feed their children and their wives. So stop playing games with this, man. There ain't none of us out there stopping no goddamn drug dealers. Let's go.
It's all kinds of stuff, right? So you could even see
y'all got that health. One thing I'll give y'all, not to cut y'all off, but y'all got one thing I give them blackity blacks. That's what I call y'all. One thing I give y'all blackity blacks. You want to get some healthy shit? You talk to Inky. You talk to them. They will get your health together. I'll give y'all that.
So we've been doing it indoors, so you might not see it on the streets. And I think that the Kemetic tradition needs to be on the streets. So
okay, so
in
you
this
do
sense,
agree.
I think I
so
agree
you
with
do
you
agree.
that we're not
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
My next question, if I could.
Okay, come.
You want to ask him on the subject?
So can I say
I
something?
appreciate it.
So when you see me setting up on the same block with you,
right?
Don't get upset.
I mean, y'all late though. But to be honest, that's where it's supposed to be. Like it's cool. Like how we got indoors. Like right now we're indoors. Like we have classes Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. here in Harlem.
Right.
But we also go out on the street.
Sure.
You know what I mean? We go to different events and venues. Sure. And we challenge everyone.
Right.
Anybody that's doing anything that's against black people or Hispanic people, we challenge them on that. We don't see that from, I have to give Muslims a little bit of credit, even though I don't believe in their ideologies, but you might see them, not as much anymore, but you used to see them being known for being out there, not as much no more. But as far as African-centered folk, I've never seen them.
You know what? I think that's a fair critique.
You understand?
I think that's a fair critique.
And I'm going to tell you, and I'm glad that you said that, at least you're honest enough. We'll see if you're honest for the rest of the night. But at least you're honest enough to admit that, because one of the biggest things where y'all got to shut up about is saying anything against us, because when you're seeing black men out there, you're seeing former drug dealers not being drug dealers and loving brothers and sisters enough to help other brothers and sisters get off. Right. I don't see that remedy being pushed with nothing Kemetic, whether you want to talk about the laws of Ma'at or anything like that. I don't see that. That's what we're known for.
To be fair, how many practitioners have you spoken to?
Everybody that okay. When you say practitioners, I'm assuming that's a Kemetic term, right?
No, it's an English term.
Okay, if I go with what I've seen, I've been involved in the there it goes. Get him on camera. They're to help already. They're going to help already. Get him. No sweat.
Listen, you're not supposed to deal deceitfully.
Hey, Floyd's trainer. Floyd's Floyd's trainer did not go in the ring while he was throwing punches or blocking. That's when he hit him with a low blow. But let me
tell you what he said.
When you say, no, I don't want to know.
You don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
But when you say, though.
I don't. But when you say, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Because I think if you heard what he said, you might think he's like giving me a key.
The practitioners.
He said all
no, I don't want to know.
Don't believe that.
But practitioners.
That's what he said.
When you say practitioners, I look at my time experience with the conscious community since September 2013, right when I encountered Polite. Since I've encountered him, I've encountered plenty of Kemetic scholars, practitioners, whatever it is that they want to call. I've never seen nobody. The closest, Chaataza, please don't get mad at me, but the closest I've come to somebody actually being on the street is when Poppy had that incident and the cat from Straight Black Pride, Irritated Genie, actually came on the corner with me. That's the only time that I've ever seen anybody from the Kemetic side on the streets dealing with an issue.
But wait. Yeah, I think you're actually merging two conversations.
No.
The question you asked me, you said that you don't see any of the practitioners dealing with the folks who are the drug dealers, who are the prostitutes.
Etc.
And I've agreed to you that we're not on the street enough. In fact,
I don't see y'all at all, but my claim is.
All right, what I want to show you is Captain Tazaryach, no. He said he don't see us on the street, the African mindset. Captain know that I've always been on the street before I became ill. I was always on the street. As you can see, I always had a crowd around me. Captain knows that. And when I go down there to see him, I would bring the crowd with me. So Captain knows that I always had the people on the street. Always. We was always on the street, and I was teaching hard.
Every time they finish a lynching, they always fill your body up with bullets. They shot him over 1,000 times as he was being burned alive. And most of the time they did it just for fun. You ain't even focusing, man. You gotta look through the screen, not you got it. I gotta get a cameraman, man. Cameraman, brother. But this is what they did to him. They shot him over 1,000 times. And when you really look good, you'll see all his intestines is out. His guts is out. He's still on fire right now. See the head? The head is still on fire. This is what they did to us for 500 years. And still going on right now. Guess what? In Africa. They still got slaves going on in Africa. Y'all didn't know that, did you? In the Sudan. In the Sudan. Are there any questions? Come on now. Hit me with some questions. What's your question?
How is it like more sophisticated now? Like
Okay, Bill. Now you know who it is. I want you to tell everybody who is this man. Who is he?
a man. I don't know what man he is. He was a man.
Turn that around, man. Because the children gonna need to see that. Who is that, man?
A man.
You're scared to say he's the devil, man.
They call that.
Who told you he existed? Whoever told you he existed? Why do you think whenever you see a picture of so-called Jesus, it's always a drawing?
Check out.
Been involved with y'all. I don't see y'all on the streets at all.
I'm gonna say two things. First of all, you should know that some of your brothers probably saw me on the street, because the Shrine of Ma'at is based in Harlem. We are the only Kemetic shrine in Harlem.
I've never seen you. I've never even heard of you until sa.neter
right down the block from you.
Found you or something.
Right down the block. And some of y'all were like, you know, y'all were ice.
You sure that was us?
Y'all were ice. I'm positive. Y'all the only ones that take that corner right there.
We take all corners.
No, I'm talking about the
take
corner.
yours too.
I'm talking about the corner on 125th Street.
Oh,
Okay, hold on.
It was you.
Hold on for a second.
Sure.
Okay, you were there.
Get him on camera again. Get him on camera. Say that. Get him on camera.
White?
Yes.
Okay, I did see that.
Yes.
And hold on though. Y'all were out there for about 3.5 minutes.
No, that's not true.
Did some kind of
It's
little...
on video.
Hold on, let me finish.
Was they down the street by the gym that day?
3.5 minutes.
They was down the street, right? They was down the street. Y'all was down the street by the gym. They was out there for like 5 minutes praying to some false deity or something like that. And then wait, they didn't. And here's the thing: being outside and addressing issues outside is two different things.
Wait. Let me say something very clearly. We are not only on that corner, right? I have had a public ministry. If you even just Google Jabari El-Saza, you're gonna get a lot. You're gonna see I've been doing this for a very long time.
Okay, but
YouTube is not the street,
man. You made an assertion. I want to respond. He said I was there for 3.5 minutes. I know you're joking, right? No. Because if you just look for the video,
we was laughing.
Let me answer.
See, what's going on right here is and Jabari don't even get it. They are trying to put Jabari on their level of what they do. That's not what the Kemetics does, man. That's not what they do. See, y'all do that because you believe in your book when Jeremiah says, speak in the roads and the highways and all of that. And so go ahead, raise your voice like a trumpet. So that's why y'all go out there, because the Bible tells you to raise your trumpet. Raise your voice like a trumpet in the highways and byways. And so that's why y'all go out there on the street. But you really going out there on the street to yell and bang on everybody. So come on, brother. It ain't like y'all acting like y'all, it's just crazy. Come on, Jabari. That's not what you do. Your job is to teach ancient African history and so on. You know what I'm saying? Don't let them get you in the bag where they trying to make you say, yeah, we in the street. We got to do the street. No, you don't, brother. That's not what you do. That's what I do. That's what the Israelites do. That's what the Panthers do. You are totally different from that. Don't let them get you in that bag, brother.
Right. If you just, I didn't see you, Captain Tazaryach, because I knew.
No, I was there. We pointed y'all out.
But, you should understand that after that, we went back to our shrine. And we carried many people with us. So you have to understand what we were there for, and you should expect to see us even more, because I agree with you that the Kemetic practitioners are not on the street enough. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. We sat there with Mfundishi, and Mfundishi is on that street every day.
Now, Mfundishi is out there. He's selling shit, but he out there, though.
He sells things. Yes, he does.
We talk about something different.
But
I will exclude you from that.
But I want to be clear with you that you're going to see us more, because I agree that we're not there enough.
So we'll see.
We're not.
I don't want to spend too much time. I just wanted to see. I'm actually glad.
But here's the point. Let me just say this. I'm going to say it real quick.
Okay, no sweat. You got to be quick. Real quick. Cut you off.
We do a lot of work indoors. And so I think that it is unfortunate that more people don't know where we are and what we're doing.
So the Israelites have a stronger presence in the street than Kemet. And once again, I didn't hear y'all speaking against social issues or against drug dealers, anything like that. And we were there before you and broke down after. And it was one time in 6 years.
First of all, one time on that corner, right? That's one thing you have to acknowledge. And I would say it is true that ISUPK is on the street. I don't know about in the street, but on the street more than we are. I think the preposition is important here, brothers. So I have been working with people in our community. Wait, you gotta listen. I have been working. Listen here.
Just admit it, sir. Kemet doesn't care more than Israelites. That is a false statement. If Israelites cared more than Israel or more than the Africans, they wouldn't be teaching false concepts. They wouldn't be lying and teaching that God is going to come and crack the sky. Don't get me started, nigga. The hell is you talking about? The white man don't care about them teaching that. That's why they give you free goddamn Bibles. They give them away in the penitentiary. That's how they clone you and set your mind up. Soon as you go in there, the first thing they give you is blankets, pillowcases, their linen, and they give you a little Bible and they give it to you. Shut the hell up. So if Israelites really cared more than us, why are they lying to the children and the babies, telling us about some goddamn Jesus Christ, knowing that he never existed, selling fairy tales? Don't get me started, man. Shut your ass up. They care more. Shut your ass up, chump.
Answer your question.
Anything inside, we don't. Yeah, we can hear you though, because we can hear you through the headphones.
No, what happens sometimes is y'all looking elsewhere, and then
no, see, that's the gift that you have. The gift that you have in ISUPK is when you see us doing all of that, we can still hear everything. But before you go further, you about to talk about some inside shit. We don't want to care about inside. We only care about outside. Okay, as long as it's all outside.
All I'm saying to you now, how could you say that the only thing that matters is the stuff you do?
I'm talking about based on
in a room right now. We're not on the
based on the question. The question was, what do you guys do outside?
No,
I'm not questioning.
You're merging two questions.
I'm not questioning.
Because you did ask about what we do in the street.
In the street, right.
And I already admitted that we're not there enough.
Okay, no sweat. Then we're going to move on to the next question.
But you also said, what are we doing to help those people who are drug dealers and
But you said that. You said y'all,
okay.
you said y'all do that inside. Yeah. Right, you said y'all do that inside.
Because I think that
we do it outside and inside.
The impression
but you got to have feet on the ground.
The impression might be that we're not doing anything because you don't see us on the street. And I think that that is not necessarily true. Let me say that.
Like the video. Thumb up the video.
Get him on camera. Let him say something. Give him the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I want to say is that
as long as you ain't asking no question, and it got to be like short. Okay, no sweat.
You try to make it appear as though all Hebrew
Here you go saving them.
on the street. And
Here you go saving them.
There are more Israelites that's not.
Here you go saving them. Here you go saving them. Say it again, Chaataza.
I hear you, but you should know the disclaimer.
Let me
finish. sa.neter, he just said that ISUPK is not affiliated with no other Israelite group. So what you're saying don't apply to us.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
Let me tell you why you do. Because you're not the only Hebrew Israelite. You didn't say ISUPK is the one that's in the street. You said we, us.
Did you say we?
Hey, you Floyd. What's Floyd Mayweather's uncle name? What's his uncle name?
Hebrew Israelite.
Hey, somebody in the chat, give me Floyd Mayweather's uncle's name. I need Floyd Mayweather.
Wait. Did I hear?
I need Floyd.
You're the only Hebrew Israelite?
I need Floyd Mayweather.
I just want to make sure you say that and everybody hears you.
No, I hope they do, and they know that I'm adamant when it comes to
somebody need to. We need to change sa.neter's name. We need Floyd Mayweather's uncle's. That's his trainer. We need his name.
Now, folks.
But don't say nothing. I want to change the subject.
Did he actually just help me, or did he just add his own information?
Roger. We're gonna call you Roger for the rest of the night, Si.
Right.
So anyway, so now the next question that we want to ask, this is kind of totally different now. When it comes to the white man, right?
I call him.
When you say, you know what, you say that shit, I've been trying to figure out how the hell you spell that shit all week. Is it
Why didn't you text me and ask me, man?
I ain't got your number. I don't have your number.
We need to
Yeah, we can exchange. How do you spell that?
Usually, now remember, we're approximating something in English that's not an English language.
Gotcha.
So you may see a few different spellings.
Right.
But generally, when I spell this, usually Tamhou. Sometimes you'll see Tamahu, Tamahou.
Okay,
and so that's essentially what you'll see.
Okay, no sweat.
Right.
So now, when it comes to the white man, second conversation, you were saying that we all come from a black mother. So now, when it comes to the white man, where does he fit in that equation?
I think it should be clear that I do believe that all people on the planet came from one black woman. However, I think the Tamhu, for the most part, has been away from the mother for a much longer period of time. Their culture has become the virtual opposite of African culture. Their interests, they have made it seem that their interests are antithetical to African interest. I think we're going to both have to deal. I say the Tamhu. I could easily say the white man. I don't disagree with that.
Right.
We're going to have to deal with that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if the white man would be related to you then?
The white man is related to everybody. Yeah.
Okay. So
now I think that just like you have some members of the family that do things that are so damaging that you need to either keep them away or have a reckoning with them, I think that that's what's going to happen. And so when I say Africans, you could say that the Tamhu is from Africa, but they have not been from Africa culturally, spiritually, linguistically for a very long period of time.
Okay. And a part of the reason why we asked you that question, because I get a different answer from different Kemetic scholars, priests, whatever they call themselves. Some say Neanderthal, etc., like that. So I wanted to see where you came from.
There are differences.
I got you.
Yeah.
The next question that I have is when it comes to the earth and creation, how were the different races created? Like how did they come about? Like, you know, even though if you say we come from one black woman, according to your theology, we look different. Like Asians look a little different, Arabs look a little different. Now we all got eyes, noses, and facial features and skin tone and stuff like that, but we have differences that make us different. So in your creation, where do the races come from?
I actually, when I say that everyone comes from one black woman, it's not my theology. That's a scientific estimation.
Okay, so your scientific estimation, we come from one woman.
Yes.
So where do the races come from?
And I'll tell you something interesting. I don't think that there is a section of the Kemetic story that clearly, and I should say that we're talking about creation stories now, that clearly describes that other ethnic groups, and I'm going to use racial groups with air quotes, come from a different place. In the creation story, it doesn't describe that. But I will say to you that there are some descriptions. For example, in the Book of Gates, there's some images, and this is the oldest image of the Tamhu, of the European, is in a Kemetic tomb, and it describes the people who were children of Ra that we had interaction with. Okay. And the Tamhu was there.
Okay.
So,
another question. This is off of creation.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Yeah, I'm doing the order.
Okay.
Unless you want me to do something.
No.
Okay.
They gotta order questions. It'd be nice if I had to order.
It says, do you accept young Ma and other women who portray themselves as men?
Oh, no, we did skip one. But before we even...
I don't even know if I know who young Ma is.
Like young M.A.
She's like good.
But I was going to say, I want to backtrack for a second.
Sure.
So what creation story do you subscribe to? Like, what is your narration of creation?
There are many creation stories in ancient Kemet.
When it comes to Kemet, but
yeah.
So now, do you actually stand by them? You
Yes.
Understand? Okay.
I stand by them.
All of them, or
and spiritually?
Okay.
There are four major ones. Yes, all of them.
Okay.
And they sound different, and that's because creation stories are different than scientific stories of the creation or how things got here. Creation stories have us understand the nature of things, the relationship of things. What is our relationship between us and the divine? And Ra.
I can believe that, brother. I can believe that. Why do you think Captain Chaataza is sitting right next to Captain Tazaryach? He's sitting next to him is because their Most High worked through me to bring people to Captain. Captain Chaataza will tell you himself. He came to ISUPK because of me. And he used to watch me all the time. And we go and bang on ISUPK. And Captain Chaataza wanted to be a part of it. And so that's when he joined ISUPK. He will tell you the story that he joined because of sa.neter. He said it. He told the story a few times. He'd been watching me, and then he wanted to figure out where's these guys at. So we on the 125th one day. And that's how he found us. And he linked up with the captain. He was more a religious person than, Black Power. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, I could believe that. Lemon.
Us and the Nteru, the creative forces. That's really what creation stories tell us. They're not meant to be read as a literal history in that sense.
Okay, I from a biblical standpoint, I disagree for a little bit, just because even like for a moment ago when you said that it's not supposed to line up with science.
Oh, that's not what I said. They have a different aim. You know what I mean?
Okay.
A creation story has a different purpose than the scientific story of how humans came to this place.
It has a different purpose.
Right.
But so now you're saying that Kemet doesn't line up, because a moment ago you stated that scientifically they state that everybody came from one black.
No. I wasn't speaking kemetically. I was speaking in terms of science.
That wasn't what I said, though. Okay, that's what I said. I said scientific.
Yeah.
Scientific.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna come forward. So
Okay.
a moment ago we spoke about science. Now I come back. So now with Kemet, so you're saying that those stories don't line up with science.
I think that there are some similarities with science, but they aren't all similar. And I don't think it necessarily needs to be, because they have a different aim. It's almost like trying to wear a pair of gloves on your feet and thinking they're shoes. You know what I mean? That your gloves have a different purpose than your shoes.
Oh, okay. I kind of see what you're saying there. But now, just back now, because even I want to backtrack. That night when, you understand, Captain Tazaryach had to check so-called Hebrew brothers, you understand, brotherly, the night that they interrupted your speaking.
The Hebrew Avengers event.
Right. So now, I heard that
That's
you
funny
make a
as hell.
statement along the lines of, when it comes down to the creation story with Geb, you understand, that it seems like a very homosexual story, you understand, if you read it literally.
I wouldn't agree
understand?
with that.
I mean,
See, this is where all the gay and homosexual stuff come from. It come from these guys right here, ISUPK. That's all they talked about. That's all they talked about with us. And so we flipped the script and started going back at them, talking about how their book is, homosexual and all this other stuff. And they didn't like it. And that's why they don't like it to this day. But they started it. They started all that gay stuff, man. So let's continue. And they don't understand the story. They don't understand the story.
anybody who was to ejaculate inside their mouth and then spew creation out, that seems pretty homosexual.
Well,
But
I think even by definition, what's a
I'll let you speak,
homosexual?
though. I'll let you speak, though.
Yes,
You
please.
understand?
I did not mean
So,
to interrupt you. I'm just trying to.
I just think it's pretty
Go
gay if
ahead.
anybody puts a rod in their mouth, even if it's their own. But so my point is that I saw you turn it into a metaphor for the earth spitting it out, and this, that, and the third, whatever the case may be. Like you tried to clean it up a little bit. You tried to do your little Kemet shuffle. Let me finish. I'm gonna give it back to you.
Go ahead.
You understand? But for example, like in the scriptures, when it talks about something being spewed out, whether it's metaphorically or not, it never has to do with a rod in a man's mouth.
Ever.
You understand? It'll talk about
And it never
a
will.
literal ocean spewing out dead bodies, which you understand, which is the masses of the world spewing out the bodies, you understand, that are going to get clean, that they're no longer in that sea of death, you understand? And then they come to life spiritually. You understand? Nowhere in there is what seems to be a very homosexual message.
Watch
you
it.
understand?
Whatever you're
So,
doing, you're messing with the sound.
I didn't see that, you understand, from your breakdown. So even if it was that, why would they portray it like that?
Well, first of all, let me say to you that homosexuality is intercourse between same sex, right? And so if you even believe that you saw a man putting his rod into his mouth, which is not actually what the story is, then you would, by definition, no, it's not debatable. I'm telling you the fact.
Go ahead.
Listen, this whole interrupt thing,
I could show you the,
I'm trying to be fair.
you brought me here to talk about the Kemetic tradition. I'm telling you a fact.
So let me hear it.
I'm not going to tell you anything that I don't believe is true, okay? And if I make an error, I'll correct it. Later, I'll say, you know what? Chaataza said something, I said the wrong thing. You know, I'll try to correct it. Because that's what I'm supposed to do. So let me say to you that if you thought you were looking at a man putting his rod in his mouth, first of all, you're not looking at a man put a rod in his mouth. You are looking at Geb. And you know who Geb is? Chaataza, do you know what Geb is? Geb is the personification of what?
If I'm not mistaken, he wasn't the earth, right?
He is the earth.
The earth, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
He's the earth. So that when you actually see seed going into the earth, you should understand that you're seeing seed in the earth. I think I saw somebody eating an apple earlier. If you're uncomfortable with that, then maybe you got Geb seed in your mouth right now. So I just want you to be clear that if you are untrained and unfamiliar, maybe you don't understand what you're seeing. And so
Jabari killed him on that one. He killed him on that one. I like that shit, Jabari. God damn, let me bring that back. Because they talking about seed. What they don't understand, right, family? What they don't understand is that Geb is not a human being. Geb is not a real person. It's mythology. It is talking about creation. So he spit the seed on the earth to fertilize it and sprout it. But these dudes here, they are dealing with like a child mind. They got a child mind, you know? And it's just crazy. It's crazy, but Jabari caught him on that one. I like that. And then you got to understand, what is homosexuality? What is gay? Is when two men or two women is having intercourse. Not when it's one man or one like that. Come on, man. Y'all got to stop this childish stuff.
Then you would, by definition, no, it's not debatable. I'm telling you the fact.
Go ahead.
Listen, this whole interrupting, this
I could show you. I could show you the. I mean, you brought me here to talk about the Kemetic tradition. I'm telling you a fact.
So let me hear.
I'm not going to tell you anything that I don't believe is true. Okay? And if I make an error, I'll correct it later. I'll say, you know what, Chaataza said something. I said the wrong thing. You know, I'll try to correct it because that's what I'm supposed to do. So let me say to you that. If you thought you were looking at a man putting his rod in his mouth, first of all, you're not looking at a man put a rod in his mouth. You are looking at Geb. And you know who Geb is? Chaataza, do you know what Geb is? Geb is the personification of what?
If I'm not mistaken, he wasn't the earth, right?
He is the earth.
The earth, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
He's the earth. So that when you actually see seed going into the earth, you should understand that you're seeing seed in the earth. I think I saw somebody eating an apple earlier. If you're uncomfortable with that, then maybe you got Geb seed in your mouth right now. So I just want you to be clear that if you are untrained and unfamiliar, maybe you don't understand what you're seeing, and so you should ask someone about it. So Geb is the earth. Geb is not a man at all. Geb's phallus, his henonym, is not in his mouth, right? And we are talking about how seed comes forth from the earth. And I know that the picture is confusing. I understand that. I am not beating you up for being confused by it. Because a lot of the average person who saw that without any context would be confused.
Before Geb was around, right? As far as the creation story goes, was there anything? Because he was the earth, right?
Yes, there was something that came before.
Was there something for him to eat?
For him to eat?
Yeah, because you gave the analogy if we eat an apple. You said that you gave the analogy if we eat an apple with a seed in it, like that, right? So my question to you is, we know sperm is called seed too. And sperm is synonymous with bringing forth life. When we see our children, we call them seeds, correct?
Sometimes, yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
No sweat. So when he says he put forth seed in his mouth, the same way you want to make it plausible for an apple, it could be plausible for that.
Plausible for what?
For him putting his own sperm in his mouth, spitting it forth, and bringing forth creation.
If he is the earth, yes, seed must go into earth in order for anything to be created.
Look at what you say. You say he's the earth.
Right. Yes.
He's putting his earth in his mouth.
Right. He's not. No. He's putting
I know it's
seed
hard.
in his mouth.
From where?
It comes from him.
Number one, Captain, earth is female. Earth is feminine. So when you say he's putting earth in his mouth, what are you talking about, Captain? You're confusing stuff. He put seed to spit out seed. He ain't putting earth in his mouth. He's spitting seed upon the earth into the woman, into the female. It's a mythological story. And Geb and Newt are not real people, bro. They not real like David and Jonathan in your Bible. They not real when God sent them out to go and get how many foreskins? And they came back with men's foreskins. Brother, stop doing this, man. Because we could go in your Bible and see all kind of crazy stuff. Y'all got to stop this madness. Gathering foreskins and all this crazy stuff, brother. Come on, man.
Sperm is synonymous with bringing forth life. When we see our children, we call them seeds, correct?
Sometimes, yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
No sweat. So when he says he put forth seed in his mouth, the same way you want to make it plausible for an apple, it could be plausible for that.
Plausible for what?
For him putting his own sperm in his mouth, spitting it forth, and bringing forth creation.
If he is the earth, yes, seed must go into earth in order for anything to be created.
Look at what you say. You say he's the earth.
Yes.
He's putting his earth in his mouth.
Right.
He's not. No. He's
Yeah,
putting
I know it's
seed
hard.
in his mouth.
From where?
It comes from him. He's the earth.
He put his seed in his own mouth.
But you said he put his earth in his mouth. Listen. You can make a lot of noise if you don't listen. So if we're gonna have a conversation, you gotta listen. You said he put earth in his mouth. He is the earth. So what I'm saying to you is if you are not able to understand the image, if you don't have any background, it would look really strange.
I got you. Here's what I know.
And I understand that when you looked at it, you said, "What the heck is going on?"
Actually,
the average person.
Actually, I didn't do that. I'm gonna tell you. When you think about evidence, so to speak, right? You have to look at the culture of a people to understand if something could be true or if something could be false. So let's take Gab and let's say we go with your theory that it wasn't homosexual at all.
What is homosexuality?
If a man puts sperm in his mouth.
No. Give me a definition for homosexuality.
Right. sa.neter, you said get him on. You said get him on camera. He said.
What's the?
All right. Hey, yo, I said something, right? Where they made a whole joke of me for years. I was trying to say something. I said, yo, well, what if I was sleeping and I had a wet dream and I accidentally wiped my mouth and I had semen on my mouth? They went crazy and they made clips of that shit. I said, oh, man, what the hell I do? What the hell I do?
I'm asking you.
Okay.
If a man puts his own
I'm asking you for a definition of homosexuality.
Homosexuality, in true definition, would be male, same sex. I got you.
And neither am I. So you will not find anyone, any adherent to Kemetic spirituality that says that you should put your seed in your mouth.
No sweat.
Okay.
But that ain't really my point. I'm just glad that y'all both said this putting sperm in your mouth is not homosexual. You fucked up that.
No, it's not.
But so now, but my point is, when you go with evidence, when you go with evidence, right? We have to look at the culture. We have to look at the culture of that place to see if it was faggoty or if it was straight leg. So you take Gab and you can say, okay, we could be confused. But you have other deities or gods, which we have a question that we're going to ask you about that. We're kind of jumping, but it's okay. So if you take Horus and Seth, for example, and then whether you want to call it a lesson or what have you, these deities competed with trying to have sex with each other. And when you go into the
Could you read the? I think that you need to read. That's not.
Good? Okay. I've read this from a couple of sources. Miriam Litcham, Budge, and I think like maybe one more.
It's helpful for you to read it now if you're going to say that, because I think you're making an assertion that's not in the text.
No, I'm not making an assertion. I've searched this. It's very interesting to me when we bring up stuff. The one thing I do know about Kemet is that the history, I would never say that it ain't tarnished. I would never say nothing from history is not tarnished. I actually don't really like history that much because it really depends on who was in charge at that time. Like,
did y'all hear that? The captain said he really don't like history that much. Did y'all hear that? That's what that Bible do to you, man. But then again, y'all teach that the Bible is a history book. See, y'all really don't believe that. Damn, did the captain really say that? Let me see. Let me make sure he said that.
Call it a lesson or what have you. These deities competed with trying to have sex with each other. And when you go into the
Could you read the? I think that you need to read. That's not.
Good? Okay. I've read this from a couple of sources. Miriam Litcham, Budge, and I think like maybe one more.
It's helpful for you to read it now if you're going to say that, because I think you're making an assertion that's not in the text.
No, I'm not making an assertion. I've searched this. It's very interesting to me when we bring up stuff. The one thing I do know about Kemet is that the history, I would never say that it ain't tarnished. I would never say nothing from history is not tarnished. I actually don't really like history that much because it really depends on who was in charge at that time. Like Queen Hatshepsut, for example, her image was tarnished. Like y'all like to act like y'all was so strong on women, but they did not like her when she was ruling. And when the ruler came after her,
got rid of all of her statues. It took a long time for them to actually find a statue of her. But that's just an example of how y'all treated it. That's what I was asking you. Yeah, that's what I was asking you. If you heard me,
I think that's.
But my point is.
Okay, go ahead. You're going far afield. I don't want to answer. And if I try to answer it all, you're going to say I'm talking too long. So don't go too far
you keep
afield.
throwing me off. Okay, but my point is, if you take Horus and Seth and their sexual encounter where they had to go before a council and one of them called sperm out of Seth's ear, that's homosexual. If you take Men, the god Men, his statue is a man's rod. Right. And if you're going to tell me it's okay to put a statue of a man's rod in your house, then it's nothing wrong with America pushing the homosexuality that they're pushing.
Okay.
So when I base my
answer?
No, I'm going to give it to you.
You're going far.
When I base the homosexuality with Geb, I look at how Horus and Seth were, and then I also look at Men. And then what happens is you're going to come and filibuster and try to make it clean. And try to make it non.
Before you do, I gotta add on.
He is going really far.
Is this the image you were talking about?
I can't see that from here. But wait. Can I answer him first? Let me answer him first. Because you know what's happening.
Get that image on
You're
camera.
going so far afield that it's.
But go ahead. You got the floor. Go ahead.
Right?
Yeah,
And I don't want. And then when I answer, you said filibustering. But you said a lot. So first of all, let me say wait. Come on. Let me.
You can talk. They can hear you.
Yeah, but they're seeing what he's saying when I'm trying to talk. That's very distracting. So I think one of the things, I promise I will talk to it. I'm not trying to run. No, I'm good. Listen, so I want you to understand very clearly here that we're not talking about human beings. That's the first thing you have to.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that.
And I know that you've said that this is homosexual. You see an erect man and you say it's homosexual. I don't know why. If you have an erect man, why is that homosexual?
In your house.
He is not putting his rod into anything.
In the house.
First, let me finish. So you're interrupting me.
Yes, this time.
Well, if you're interrupting me, then how would I do not have children right now?
You don't.
So I want you to understand.
You came in his son's room, and instead of there being naked women on the wall, there was just.
First of all, let me say this to you. You know what part of the problem is here? Let me take the global view for a second. Part of the problem is that the tradition that you are in, you got to hear this.
I'm listening. I can hear you. I'm giving my headphones.
The tradition that you are in is overly literal. And so when you see things, you can only see them in the most literal sense. Ancient Africans were not literal. And because you're coming to this from a literal sense, I'd have to say to you, we're talking about creation. In the ancient Kemetic tradition, every male had a male and female, and they created from there. In your tradition, I see two dudes. So if anybody is homosexual, I think you need to question your own doctrine. Bring it out. Because that is where we see what must be homosexual. Let's go further. See, you were not listening.
You said
this is what I'm saying to you. You have to listen if we're going to have a dialogue. The other challenge I have to you is this. You have said that this is homosexual because you're looking at this literally. Now, family, I know you may not know how long I've been watching your tradition. But haven't you had a problem with literalism? If this was the year 1999, we would be in a bomb shelter because y'all thought that the Creator was going to come forward and put the black man back on the top of the world. Instead, in 2016, we got a Tom Who devil like Donald Trump. So your problem with literalism caused a problem in your tradition. My understanding is you even had to change the name of your school because that understanding, which was overly literal, was so overwrought and so broken that you had to just start over. So I want to say to you that if you're going to be overly literal, it will cause you problems. And that is the ultimate problem that we have with Geb. It's the ultimate problem we have with Men. And I don't understand how you can be so literal when in your tradition I see two dudes that created all of creation. And so if you want to say that my tradition is homosexual, explain to me how your dudes do it. I see the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. 3 dudes in your tradition.
I got you. When Chaataza had first asked you that question, and we was talking about
which question?
About the drug dealing.
Okay.
Stuff like that. When we first spoke about that, we was talking about how some things are literal, some things are not literal. Like we established that in the beginning of this interview. So when you say we take it too literal, we... Oh, it keep falling. I'm sorry, it keep falling off. I'm
Maybe
gonna try
put
to
this loose.
Let me. You know what? Okay. Let me see if I do it like this.
Go clip him. It's hard to do it yourself, man.
Is that good right there? That's good. All right, no sweat.
This beard's gonna rub on her. You know these Hebrews got big beards.
Yeah. Hey man, if I could plug my oil.
That's right.
Get that oil. You want your beard right. Get that oil up in there.
I have used Tazaryach's oil.
Yeah, man.
He was really generous enough to give me a bottle. And the oil is nice. Let's be real. Let's be real.
All right, so now where I had left off at is we don't look. It's not so much that we're looking at it literal, because I don't believe none of that garbage. I don't believe
Which garbage.
Gab, New.
No, I know you don't believe my tradition. I'm saying your tradition, you're taking it too literally.
No, we don't. Some things are metaphorical.
Brother Tazaryach,
some
you
things
believe that the clouds will open and chariots will come down.
Now, again, what we like to do is we like to bring up the Bible. We're not talking about the Bible. We might talk about the Bible a little later. We're not talking about that right now.
No, we can't do
when
that.
it comes, you said that we look at Gab like it's literal. I don't look at Gab as it's literal. I don't look at Horus and Seth as it's literal. I look at it like Reggie said, it's just supposed to be a story, right? All of it. So now when I look at it, you telling me the best story that you can describe about gods is that they was trying to have sex with each other?
First of all,
that's the best story.
That is, I never.
No, that's not what he said. No. Neither one of y'all said. I'm not saying y'all said that. I said when you tell me that story, the best story that you can tell me is not humans. Like when you think about the story of Lot, right? The story of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's not gods trying to have sex with people.
Can I say this?
That's men trying to be African men at that. Let me let like Jabari, what Jabari like to always talk about is Lot giving up his daughters and how the angels protected them. What he failed to tell you
angels did not protect
is that
the daughters.
They protected the daughters.
That's not what that story says.
What happened to the daughters?
The daughters were not taken.
Why?
The mob didn't say.
Wait, why?
You want to read?
No, I know the answer already. Because the angels intervened and helped them.
The quote.
They left the city safely.
Listen, wait, hold up. But my point is, those was African homosexuals.
Brother.
Sodom and Gomorrah were Africans.
Stop it.
They were not.
Stop it.
They were not Israelites.
Listen.
Lot was a Hebrew.
Come on.
He was not an Israelite. Sodom.
Now, family, do y'all hear this crazy stuff? 1 minute you say they destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah because we failed the laws. We didn't go by the laws and we started being homosexuals and having sex with each other. Now all of a sudden they Africans, Captain? What the hell is going on? Yo, you gotta own your stuff, bro. Now all of a sudden so why did the Most High punish you then? Why did he destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, bro? Because they were people of Israel. How you doing this right now? I don't believe you doing this right now, Cap. Get you on the show, brother. Because I'm writing all this down that you're saying. It's giving me new questions now. This is crazy.
And Gomorrah was about Africans.
Where are they?
Was about Africans being homosexuals.
Where is Sodom and Gomorrah?
Pull that up for me. So now, when you say we take it literal, we don't. It's just that y'all describe the stories in the worst way possible. You said our story has 3 men, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? They didn't create mankind in the sense of how we reproduce. A man and a woman, or men and women, is what created mankind physically. On the 6th day when like our story don't have to have this magic shit like y'all got. Like you ain't got to have a man that bring forth, he bring forth creation like that. You don't have to have that. Our story is real simple. On the 6th day, mankind was created and they produce. It's very simple. It's not that deep. So you reason.
Is it all right if I talk to him because my name in the title? And I'm not helping him. I'm just talking.
You made a point to tell me. You made a point to tell me that you would not intervene. Listen, this will be your 4th time.
But why you put me in the title then, brother?
I said we interviewing Jabari with sa.neter, like you would be in the building But you not the one being
Whenever you
interviewed.
catch the mic. Wait, listen. Let me say something. Let me say something. Whenever he touches the
Has
mic,
nothing to do with being
whenever
scared.
he touches the mic, y'all say that he's trying to help me. sa.neter has been doing this for a long time. He has his own ideas that he wants to share. It is really hard to be behind the camera and not say anything. That's what's happening.
Right.
So you should know. So that's what happens. But let me say this to you: if you weren't so literal,
We're not.
then why in the world did you
Your
think?
metaphysical
Then
or moral story
So tell me what
is
happened
disgusting.
in the year 2000 with your
Before
school.
we even get anywhere near that.
What happened with your school in
Hold
2000?
on. This is what I want to know. Can you get Bubba shut?
Yeah, you're not talking
Right
now.
here. Is this an accurate image? Is this the same image we were speaking of
When you
earlier?
say accurate, what do you mean?
What I'm trying to say is that is this a depiction of Geb and the creation?
This is Geb.
This is Geb.
Yes.
Now, this is what makes me not able to latch on to your
They got it. They're
story. Is that they could have drew a tree or an apple
Right,
and a
right,
seed,
right.
and you said this is the earth and not a man. Showing
You know what?
a man with
You know
a
what part of the
dick
challenge?
aimed at his mouth.
You know what part of the challenge is?
No. Listen, you've been speaking.
Go ahead.
So
Finish. Finish.
So you've been saying, okay, this is not supposed to be literal. This is this is that, and this is the earth. And it's, an apple seed. You might have an apple seed in your mouth right now. I don't know this, but I don't see a tree. I don't see a fruit. I don't see a vegetable. I don't see a nut.
Even with Adam and Eve,
you're saying the same thing now.
Even with Adam and Eve, even with Adam and Eve,
You're
they got
reiterating
that,
a lot.
Even with Adam and Eve, they got that fake fruit.
Can I respond?
Right.
That's a seed. That's a seed.
They could draw an apple.
Can I respond? Can I respond?
Go ahead, please.
You have to
Please
understand
respond.
that every spiritual tradition has levels of understanding.
Okay.
And there's some text that would never have been available to the average person who didn't have access to deeper teachings, right? And so you have to understand that unfortunately with the internet and other things, you're seeing some things that you're not prepared to see. The person who would have seen that would never have thought about that. As they never would have seen that and said, this is a man putting the seed in his mouth. They never would have seen it that way.
But they would have.
So you have to understand that they would have been fully in possession of the concepts of who Geb is, what he represents, and they would have been able to have a different understanding. But because you're looking at it and you're not initiated, because you're looking at it and you're very literal, you are very literal.
No, we're not.
Tazaryach,
It has nothing to do with the literal. It has nothing to do with the literal.
Let me finish.
I know. If I believe the clouds will open up, it's going to be literal. I know. You said it. You said that earlier, though.
But I want to say it and then have you respond.
Come on, say it again,
If you
please.
actually believe that at the end times the clouds will open up and some dudes on some chariots will come down, then you're being ultimately literal. And we know that if I have a critique of ISUPK, and let me be really clear, because we do this debate thing, we end up critiquing
This is not a
lot.
debate, though. This is our radio show.
It's going back
interviewing
and
you.
forth is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
They're going back and forth.
Right.
stuff.
Now that part is true.
What
We are going
happens
back and forth.
is that we don't get to actually hear all of our ideas. And I want you to understand that there's a lot about ISUPK I respect, right? There's a lot about ISUPK I respect and admire.
Right.
The things that I have challenged with is always how literal you take things. And that's a problem. And you should see it as a problem too.
Okay, no sweat.
Especially after what happened to you at the Millennium. And I want you to talk to, because I know the family, that's now 18 years ago. I'm sure that even some folks aren't familiar with what happened. So why don't you tell us about what happened in 2000?
We'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to change the subject.
I doubt we will, but.
I want to change the subject or change the conversation just a little bit. When it comes to, which way do I want to go? To the women.
You sure you want to go in that direction?
Yeah, absolutely.
You made a point to say that, talk about the Bible being misogynistic, right?
There is a video that I put up on sa.neter's platform that...
Well, I'm not really necessarily saying the video, but I've just known, right. And I'm going to tell you something. What I did like, actually, that was the one you did with Dr. Ma'at. I actually liked it when you was getting mad at me, actually. If you ask sa.neter, tell him, right? Ain't that true, Sa? Didn't I text you, tell you I liked it? So that way when I get spirited myself, can't nobody say nothing because he got spirited at me, but at least I'm doing it directly instead of in a camera. But anyway, when it comes to women, a week or so ago, I'm a big of a brother, Issacharite brother. His name is Jashub, right? And a week ago, I'm going to play this clip. Now, it might not come out too loud. They might not hear it on there. Or I'm going to just speak about it. A week ago, they asked you about the Maxims of Ptahhotep. When it comes to the Maxim of Ptahhotep, before this day, that was like your goddamn...
And I just want to go on record. Cap X, 2 years ago on our way to Chicago, X said the same question, and he completely avoided it.
Right, I did. What? This question. And the brother Jashub read how in the well, first, the Maxim of Ptahhotep was like your Catholic Holy Grail.
Like
you, Catholic and I'm going to tell you what I mean when I say that. You used to bring that up. The oldest book is the in the history is the Maxim of Ptahhotep. Actually, of divine inspiration.
First book. If the world's first book, me, get it right at least. It's the world's oldest
complete book.
Now, in terms of a moral guide, because it seems like that is part of what we're talking about here today.
I want to play this part because I want you to hear what he says here.
It's so strange for you to play a video of someone who's sitting right here.
I could tell you, but I don't want to get your words wrong.
Okay. That as we begin to understand what we have done, you have to understand that these people...
Because you called it divine here.
From the Hebrew tradition...
You said, I'll stop it. When you did the debate with Israel Doctrine, you called the Maxim of Ptahhotep. You acknowledged there was an old man who was a vizier, passing it down to a young, passing it down to a vizier, a younger vizier, which was not the norm.
Well,
it was normal.
He wasn't actually a younger vizier, but
he was younger than him because this guy was like 100 years old, right?
It's his spiritual.
But it was not right. It wasn't normal to pass that down to him.
Wasn't normal to pass what down?
The visorship. If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize.
I don't think that he passed the visorship down to him.
Yeah.
But let me say to you that when he wrote the book,
you said it was divine.
You're making up words now, Cap.
Divineship is made up. Divine is not. But you said it was divinely inspired.
He was leading.
To say something is divinely inspired is to say that it comes from a higher power.
Okay, so why don't you? Maybe you should play the clip.
Now he wants me to play. He said I don't have. Now you see that?
Because I think
he said I don't have to play it. He said I don't have to play it because he's standing right here.
What's your question though? There's a question here.
You said it was divinely inspired with Israel Doctrine. When the brother Jashub read what the Maxim of Ptahhotep says in regards to women, when it says for that woman, keep her from power, control her.
Right.
Now I don't believe that makes it patriarchal. First of all,
can you read the earlier part of the text? Have you read the Maxim of Ptahhotep?
I read some of it, and I'm not.
So how are you going to use the clip and not have read the book?
Let me finish.
That's some.
You're going to bring what he's going to do is he's going to bring a part where it says something good about the woman.
Can I read the Maxim?
It says, "Don't contend with her in court.
Yeah, don't
power her eye as a storm."
Let me read the.
Wait,
I can give it to you. You want me to give it to you?
No, I don't. That's not my point. My point, and it ain't even got nothing to do with patriarchal, because all patriarchal means is you just come from the seed of your father. It's not that deep. A woman can be as
that's patrilineal.
But what you try to imply with your greatest book, with the greatest book that was divinely inspired, when it comes to the woman, it said to keep her from power, control her. And what you said to me what you said to the brother Jashub spoke volumes, because you said what you should know is that there are some people that are coming. You named Sunjeti, and you said that are coming with a retranslation, right? And you said, and even if they come with the retranslation and it says the same exact thing, I'm not going to follow that. That's what you said.
No, that's not what I said.
That is what you said.
No, that's not what I said.
I said that if... Okay. Out of anything. I'm saying that the difference is that we are talking about a man who,
you got to go further down.
Wisdom wrote. So I think that the can I ask another question?
You got to go further down.
I'm trying to say, I'm trying to counter.
That's early in my statement. You got to go a little further.
In a more closer relation. That's why you're a priest.
I can tell you what I said.
You said that if it said that
if it says keep her from power.
You can speak in the mic. Yes, speak in the mic.
If it says keep her, I wasn't trying to interrupt.
No, I got you. Okay. I got you.
Right. Mm-hmm. What I said was if it sounds like it is something that is negative to women, this is the spirit of what I said. I would not.
Hold on 1 second. Callers, we're not going to take no calls just yet. Give us like another maybe 30 minutes or so, and we'll take your call. That's a caller calling.
Sure,
but go
that's
ahead.
cool. That's cool.
Go ahead.
So that is what I said. I said that if it does sound like something that is speaking against our sisters, that I would say that I would speak against it. Is what I said.
Right. So you would speak against the maxim of Ptahhotep that are divinely inspired, meaning you disagree with what he got from his deity.
He doesn't say he gets,
come on now.
Let me do this.
Come on now.
Because I don't want to quabble.
Come on now.
I don't want to squibble.
Come on now.
Squabble over the little stuff.
But no, this is not little, because you made your whole thing about how the Bible is against women and how Kemet is not.
I'm about to agree with you. There are two things that have to happen here, because the family hasn't read the Maxims of Ptahhotep. Apparently, neither have you.
No, I've read some of it.
You haven't, but you got to read the quote that you're reading.
No, I've read that. No, I've read that.
Let's read
that quote. I read it already.
Well, let's read it. No.
That quote that I said is accurate.
That's not even a
you
sentence.
said read the quote.
You didn't even read a sentence.
And Chaataza started from the beginning when it said don't contend with her in court. We read the quote.
Okay, now wait a minute. This is Maxim 21. It says, when you prosper and found your house and love your wife with ardor, fill her belly, clothe her back, ointment soothes her body, gladden her heart as long as you live.
That's right.
She is a fertile field for her Lord.
That's right.
Do not contend with her in court.
Right.
Keep her from power, restrain her.
Right, so I don't
Let me finish, hold on.
But you reading stuff I don't have an issue with.
I'm almost done. Her eye is her storm when she gazes. Thus you will make her stay in your house. So I want you to understand the context of this. It is it is like you're taking less than a sentence.
No, I'm
so
not.
you have to understand that the context here is make your wife happy.
I don't have an issue with that.
Wait, listen. If she is upset, she's going to divorce you. That's what it means, go to court.
I don't have.
And
listen, I don't have an issue with that court.
Listen to me.
They actually got that part right. You don't want to go with the black woman in court.
Well, in your tradition, she couldn't go to court because she wasn't even a human at the time. So she could not be in court. During the Hebrew time. During the time of your Bible. She could not go to court.
I got it.
In the Kemetic tradition,
I want to focus on is in your Maxim of Ptahhotep, it says, because you focusing on what I don't want to focus on.
Yeah, of course you don't want to focus on that because it hurts you.
No, it doesn't. Because I don't have an issue with the one with that role that they said.
What they are saying
you said that the Maxim of Ptahhotep, the ancient records, you said Kemet was better and it's not misogynistic. You said that Kemet was not misogynistic. To keep her from, if that was in the Bible, if it was in the Bible when it said keep her from power, control her, you'd have added that to your videos that you put up. Be honest. Just Jabari, at least you should just be honest. I'm asking if that was in the Bible, if that was in the Bible, would you have used it against us? Yes or no?
No.
You're lying.
And this is why.
You're lying.
This is why. Let me explain to you.
He's lying.
What you are doing
He's lying.
You are taking the word, the only word in that whole thing you're taking.
It's not the word. It said keep her from power, control her. How do you control a woman? If it's not if you're not being a man in charge, how do you control a woman?
Priest. Do you want me to
How do you control a woman
what it says?
if you're not in charge?
You can disagree, but let me explain to you what it says.
How do you control if you're not in charge?
And you're telling me on something that someone said on a video.
I'm asking a simple question.
You should at least read it.
I'm asking a simple question.
Let me explain it to you. And if you disagree with my explanation when you read it,
I read it.
Can say,
no, we did read.
So
we did read it. That beginning part, I don't have no issue with. To be honest, I don't have no issue with nothing that's said in that.
The one
he
word,
said it's Messiah. It's not one word. You keep focusing on one word. It's not one word.
Listen.
It's not one word.
This is what it says. It is saying that you should keep your wife happy. Do everything you can for her.
I don't disagree with that. The Bible says the same thing.
Oils. By the way, that's the part I disagree with.
The Bible says
my
the
wife
same exact thing.
That's what I need to do all the time. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the Bible says the same exact thing.
But hear what I'm saying to you. The Bible also says you should marry a rapist. But let me say very clearly, we're going to get into it.
Don't worry, and you gonna get cut to kiss tonight. Let the record before you do that. Let me let the record show Jabari will get smashed, but you running from the statement.
Let me say, yeah, I was talking. What?
Jabari is right. The Bible do say marry a rapist. Cap, like, come on, man. See, when y'all get cut, y'all gotta lie about it. It absolutely says that, brother. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Come on, man.
It interrupted me. So it's my turn to be one at a time. Don't tell me one at a time. See, so listen. Yeah, but I'm a guest in the house. And so usually when you have a guest, I'm trying to say it. But let's go. So speak to your man. I'd like to hear what he has to say.
Let's go.
The context of this is keep your wife happy. Do everything for her.
Heard that.
But when she gets angry, she may want to go to court and divorce you.
Right.
It literally says keep her away. Power here should be interpreted as the judge. Keep her away from the judge because she's going to destroy and make her stay in your house.
No. You skipped the part. It said keep her from power
and restrain
control her.
Well, it depends on which translation you're reading.
If you want to say restrain her, that's something you do by force.
They are saying
you to restrain.
This does not say force.
You said restrain. I said control.
Does not say force.
How do you restrain somebody?
Listen.
How do you restrain somebody? How do you restrain somebody?
This is clearly about a man keeping his wife happy by doing all those things that you like.
We can move to.
And if you don't do those things, she's going to take you to court. That's what it says.
We can move.
And I don't know why you would try to make it sound like that's a problem, because at the same time in your tradition, women could not go to court because they were not fully recognized as citizens or humans.
I got you. I'm gonna tell you what I want y'all to do.
You're beheading yourself.
What I want y'all to do is y'all go look at my tape.
I want y'all to notice something here. I want y'all to notice something. Every time Captain get cuts on the question he asks, he always want to move it along and don't want Jabari to follow up and ask him the question about his misogynistic Bible. Notice he said, all right, I want to move it on. He always does that. Captain crazy. Captain always do that. He always want to move it on. Listen to him.
And when I'm asked a biblical question, I don't have to go at Kemet to answer the biblical question. I don't have to bring up what Kemet does or Kemet doesn't do. I can answer the question straight from the scriptures. What Jabari has done is want to make a correlation to the Bible because he just don't want to admit that the man had power over the woman in Kemet, which is not a big deal because the man is the protector. But we're moving on to the next subject. This is the next subject.
Wait a minute. If they look at your videos, they're going to look at videos of you.
No. When I'm saying video, I'm talking about videos of interactions with like Polite, etc. like that. I spent the whole time with Polite. Every time he asked me a biblical question, I stuck to the question that he answered. I didn't use Egypt as the backdrop. I just answered the question. What you do is run and use the Bible as your scapegoat, which is what Kemet do because they can't answer the Kemetic question. So we're going to go to the next question.
I answered the question very
Okay, no sweat. We're going to go to the next question. When it comes to Geb, we have mentioned Geb earlier, right? And we got into, and then earlier you said about the whole, we got to talk about rape because you can rape and got to marry a rapist in the Bible. Did Geb rape his mother?
Who is Geb's mother?
Tefnut.
Geb's mother is Tefnut?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you read to me?
I'm just asking a simple question.
No.
He did not rape his mother. And he did not get the crown of Re after he raped his mother.
Not in any of the ancient texts that I have read.
So you read all the ancient texts?
Who could ever read all the ancient texts? I read those things that primarily...
okay.
Let me answer.
No, you said, no, it's fine.
Be careful. You said Gad raped his mother?
However, it seems that his lust did not stop there.
Come on.
The Fakasa Stele.
Tell us what you're reading.
I'm telling you.
And where you getting it?
The Fakasa Stele tells of Geb's infatuation with his mother, Tefnu.
Can you tell us who wrote that?
I just said the Fakasa Stele.
What's the Fakasa Stele?
You have to look it up. I'm giving you the name of the stele. I'm giving you the name of the stele.
Jabari.
What I'm saying to you is that
all you gotta do is just write. Listen, you said that you haven't read everything, so it
there's
doesn't.
no way I can read everything.
Absolutely.
But
so that don't mean that it's not there.
No, it doesn't mean it's not
okay,
there. I agree. But
so
what
now
I am
when
saying
you talk
is
about,
that if you're bringing something up and you're trying to actually question me on it, I would hope that you had done a little bit more research.
I gave you the name of the
but
stele.
where is it from? It could have been some Greek dudes that wrote that. I have no idea.
No sweat.
You need to tell me more about it. So
now,
I can
it
answer.
says in the Fakasa Stele. I'll give you some more information about it. It says that Geb raped his mother, and there was 9 days of darkness and storms followed, and then Geb went and took his father's place as Pharaoh. Now what I did was, and I'll send you every link that I have, because what I did was, what I learned, here's what I did learn in dealing with Kemet. And this is all honesty, this ain't no bullshit. What I learned in dealing with Kemet is that what I used to think about Kemet wasn't the truth. You understand? Like what I mean by that is there were things that would, trying to see what I could use as an example. Like Cleopatra, for example, you know, a lot of people thought she was black. Then I found out that she's not black. She's a white woman.
She was probably mixed race.
Well, her father was a Ptolemy.
She was certainly a Ptolemy.
We go right at.
She was certainly a Ptolemy.
There were things that I learned. So what I did when I saw that, I went and looked at a bunch of different sources. And if we exchange information, I'll send you every source that I have. And then, of course, we can always come back and revisit it. Now, the only reason that I went and looked that up was because you on your rant about rape in the Bible. And so that's what made me say, well, if Geb is raping, if the Maximus Ptahhotep is also talking about raping,
the Maximus Ptahhotep is talking
I'm sorry. If the Maximus Ptahhotep is saying to keep her from power, control her, you use the word restrain her. That's the word you use, right?
It's a translation of Merriam-Webster.
So now, it said restrain her.
Yes.
Either one of them is saying that a man is being dominant and at the same time loving her. Like, when you go to Ephesians or when you go to the scriptures, you're supposed to love your wife as you love yourself.
That's right.
But there's a pecking order. The man is the head, the woman is under her, and the woman and the children are under her, and that's just a pecking order. It's just about order.
Right.
Like everything is supposed to have order.
Right.
So now the next question that goes into it is prostitution.
Wait,
and the Egyptian,
are you not letting me? You going on to another?
Yeah, we was done with
responding.
Responding to the rape thing. Go ahead, respond to the rape thing. You said you haven't. You said you haven't read it though. So how can you speak on it?
Well, I want to say to you that when we have these conversations, I really appreciate.
No, I'm not.
Wait, when you.
I said I would send him the sources.
Listen.
No, tell him to not talk.
Listen to me. I'm talking to you right now. when you are having these conversations and you attempt to bring up something that you want me to answer, particularly whether I'm familiar with it or not, you need to do a little bit more research on it, so that you can tell me more about it. I've not heard of the stele.
Okay, no sweat.
I don't know what period it's from. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know where it was found. I don't know a lot of stuff about it. So for you to put it out here on this radio program, it makes it sound like you are talking about something that is verified. You're talking about something that makes good sense. But then when I ask you to give me any of the details about it, you can't. So I think that if you're going to bring up something from my tradition, at least be prepared to tell me why it's in my tradition. Just because it says Geb on it, that doesn't mean that it's from my tradition.
No sweat. I offered you the sources.
Yeah, but you didn't tell me anything about the sources. You just told me a name.
I did. I told you the name of the stele, and I'll be glad to give you. If I didn't do enough research on it, I wouldn't have used it at all.
Well, but I didn't hear any research. You just brought up. You did. Some
I gave you the name of this. That's not Google research. I gave you the name of the stele.
That's Google research.
And I told you I would give it to you. The sources. I have more questions that I have to ask.
Did you read the stele?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
What does the stele say about rape?
I just read the quote. I just read it to you.
That wasn't a quote.
That was Read the quote.
This is what I'm talking about. If you're going to do some research and some scholarship, you have to do research and scholarship. It cannot be Google scholarship.
All of that he's doing is filibustering to take away from the fact that Geb raped his mother and was awarded
Talk to me about where the stele comes from.
And was awarded the crown.
Okay, read it to me.
And you did not
from
answer.
The stele.
And you did not answer. You don't have an answer for the question. You'll get your sources.
What I'm saying to you is that if you're going to use that against me, you have to give me some more information. And you can't just make a supposition without any foundation. That's
I told
what you've
you
done.
I would. No, I did not. I told you I looked up various sources that I would send to you.
So what sources did you look at?
There's about 4 of them.
So what are they?
And all you got to do is give me your email. I don't need the distractions.
But what I'm saying to you is when you do that on the radio,
the radio is fine.
No, but you have to have a anyway. Okay, let's move on.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Now we're going to move to prostitution.
Yes.
In the Egyptian mythology. Now it's hard. The only thing that I will say, here's the only out that I'll give you. A lot of your Egyptology, that was another question I wanted to ask you. A lot of your Egypt studies are done by the Tamhu. You have some that are done by black, but most of it is done by the Tamhu. If you start with the Medu-Neter, I believe that was started, the translation was started by the white man, right? Is that history correct? When they found what they call a Rosetta Stone
You're
with
not
the different...
incorrect, but I think I would tweak it a little bit. Right?
Okay. Can you tweak it shortly?
Essentially, I'm going to do it as fast as possible. If I'm going along to do this, I'm going to stop. Literally, because this is not a big point. But I want you to understand that we lost the ability to speak a certain language. Those texts were written by actors.
So it became dead after a while.
But I don't want you to make it sound like the Tom who wrote it.
No. I'm not saying that he wrote it.
Okay.
I'm saying like what you're saying, that it became a dead language, because just like any language can become dead. Sure. Hebrew became dead for a little while.
Yeah.
And then it's when
most people don't say that.
No, well, we're honest. Yeah. Hebrew was dead for a long. Hebrew was a dead, non-spoken language for a long time. So Medu-Neter was one also, and the way they was able to translate it was when they found a Rosetta Stone with the Greek, Hebrew, and Medu-Neter, and then they was able to line it up.
Nice try.
But anyway,
they try to slip that in there. You thought you think it's late? I'm gonna just miss that one.
No, I could have misspoken. Ain't that? It's not. That's not really that. It don't have to.
I thought you were trying to get at.
No.
Do you read the Medu-Neter?
It had.
No, I don't
read them.
No.
So if you don't read the Medu-Neter, just like you say, you don't really know how to read.
Well, I don't want to get off track because certain scholars say the Medu-Neter wasn't translated properly, and that leads to a difference. Dr. Ben is one, though.
Dr. Ben never said that the Hebrew was never translated. The Medu-Neter wasn't translated.
He did.
You just misspoke.
Yeah, you just.
Sure, I did. I thought he was teasing me when he misspoke.
Oh no! I didn't mean to say.
I thought you had a little smile. No. If y'all don't know Tazaryach, when he's trying to slap you, he put a little smile on his face.
And that is by reading.
I actually like that about him.
So you can see it for yourself. So you can say, well, you know what? I got the first hand, third generation.
Can you speak it?
No, I don't.
But you talk on it though. Hold on, wait. But you talk about
King James raped his mother. He was a drunkard and an alcoholic.
I got you.
That's why you coming up with this story about Gad had sex with his mother. See,
but you don't speak the Medu-Neter, but you speak on Kemetic history.
Right.
He speaks on Kemetic history.
He said that I can't speak on Kemet unless I know the Medu-Neter to go to the source.
Before his camera, many people.
But he goes. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about him specifically.
But he. Okay.
Like he talks about it. You're known for talking about it. But anyway, in sources, Egyptian mythology, just like I named the stela that I got it from. This is from
sources.
This is a source that I'm about to read. I'm giving you where I read this from. Like I gave you the stele that I read that from.
Okay. Go ahead.
When Herodotus was told that Cheops, Khufu, had set his own daughter to work as a prostitute to help pay for his pyramid building.
Whoa. So
did he set his own daughter as a prostitute?
And every scholar, regardless of their ethnicity today, knows that didn't happen.
So why is this scholar saying that?
No, a scholar is saying what Herodotus said. But all this. Hear me for a second, because this is easily provable. Anyone that Googles, you could even Google this one and find out this is not true. Herodotus said a lot of things that people told him, and some of it he just got wrong, right?
Now,
and so almost
just from a time frame period, is this Herodotus the same one that people credit for the King's List as well?
Herodotus doesn't write a king's list. Herodotus brings a king's list to people.
Right, and that was used as a timeline for...
It's not his, though.
No, but I'm saying it was used, though.
The biggest king's list you're talking about is probably Manetho.
Okay, Manetho.
That's who you're thinking.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Manetho is a native person. His name is probably badly translated. But Herodotus is a Greek man who travels to Kemet. And some of the things he says are just wrong. We know that that's not correct.
No.
And every scholar today, regardless of their ethnicity, knows that's just not true.
No sweat. The next one, incest in Egypt. Well, it's kind of like two questions, but one, no, it'll be separate questions. So I want to do the incest one or the other one. You want to say something? Incest in Egypt. They have come up with scientific evidence. They've come up with stories. Is incest something that took place in Egypt?
There are many times in actual royal families where what is attempting, let me take a step back. I'm going to try to do this quickly, but it's hard. That's a hard question to answer quickly. The rulership in Kemet is matrilineal, right? So in order to become king, you're supposed to marry the right woman. There are times that primarily half-brothers and half-sisters were married in order for the half-brother to become the king.
When you say
it is extremely rare, maybe I can think of one or two instances where full brothers and sisters were married. It's not believed that King Tut married his full sister.
So now, is that lawful or unlawful?
It was lawful for you to marry a half-sister because the bloodline is matrilineal. So that particular woman had the sacred blood, and so to become king, you had to marry her.
So it is. So my question was, it's lawful to.
That was not unlawful.
It was not.
No.
So you can do that today.
No.
Well, when maybe I'll consider that when I have a navy and an army. No, we don't have Kemetic kings today. I'm a Kemetic priest. I'm not a king.
No. Here's what I'm saying. When I'm saying, is it lawful? Is it lawful for incest? You said it was not unlawful.
It happened in royal families, right? The average brother and sister today.
I'm not talking about today.
Cannot. You just said can you do it today?
Talking about when rules and
you said can you do it today?
Different, brother.
Wait, you just said can you do it today, right?
Years ago.
Well, I said, was it lawful? My second part, my first part, which I thought you was answering, that's why I interjected. My first part was, is it lawful? And so I thought you was answering that. Now I did say
it was lawful.
It's not lawful anymore?
The honest reality is that we do not have a royal lineage anymore. So no, it wouldn't be.
So are you saying, so it's not lawful, but no. It was lawful to sleep with your sister or brother, half or whatever, but now it's not lawful.
Right.
Why?
I just answered the question.
Because of kingship?
There is no royal matrilineal lineage. I think what we have to do is we have to now take the spirit of the tradition rather than the actual practice. So no, that is not something that any Kemetic community in any part of the world that I'm familiar with. And there's several.
You want to know why y'all don't do that today? Because you know it's wrong.
Right.
We don't do it today.
Right.
You don't do it today because the Bible says don't do it.
The Bible says don't do it?
Leviticus, the 18th chapter, the first verse. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God.
Now, you brought up the Bible.
After the doings,
so when I say something, don't say I'm just.
After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do. None of you shall approach to any that is the near kin to him to uncover his nakedness, the nakedness of thy father, the nakedness of thy mother, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad. Even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. You just said incest was lawful in Kemet. So now you say, of course, it's not lawful today. Now, why do I bring that up? And I'll give you the floor. I bring that up because our argument is that if we're going to fix black people, we have to do what our ancient ancestors did. For us, it's Israel. For you, it's Kemet. And don't want to just say Kemet, because you did start off by saying you don't want to make it seem like you're against the other African. Right.
Yeah.
So you always say Africanized.
Right.
Now, if we get into other African cultures, then we got to get into cutting off the daughter's clitoris, which is African culture.
No, it is not an
African. That is an African.
It is not an African.
Did he say that's not African practice?
It is not an African.
He said that's not African practice.
You're speaking.
So they don't practice that?
African. No, wait a minute. Also, when I go to Ghana, I'm going to see the largest.
I'm not. It's 40 countries in Africa.
In Nigeria, and many countries in Africa, you're going to see the largest image of a Tomhu Jesus with literally blonde hair.
Jesus
we don't even do blonde hair here.
Cutting the clit off. That's what Jesus ain't. Caesar was there. Got nothing to do with this.
Hear what I'm saying. You're going to agree with me, but you have to let me finish. There have been many things in Africa that have been brought from the outside as our African brothers and sisters on the continent were subjugated during colonialism. There is no ancient reference for clitoraldectomy in ancient Africa. None. None. It seems to come into Africa during the Arab invasion.
Right.
That's when we begin to see it happen in the 7th century of the Common Era.
Right.
And I've done a lot of research on it.
Yeah,
I would never stand by that. But can I go back and talk about the basis of why we got to this?
Can you talk about the incest part? Yeah. No, you can come back to that.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Now, I want to be clear that you say that incest is something that's you shouldn't speak on in the Bible. But I know that
it's unlawful.
It's unlawful.
Right.
And what happens when you transgress against the law?
You can be punished for that.
How?
Depending on what it is, you can do it.
So what would you think the punishment should be for someone who...
I would have to read it, but it could be something where you got to sacrifice for.
Okay.
You can get stoned for.
Okay.
Certain, depending on the level of the crime.
Well, I just want to be clear. If Abraham marries his half-sister Sarah, then I think you think that your major patriarch should be stoned.
Abraham didn't marry his half-sister, though.
He did not marry Sarah?
Yeah, he married Sarah.
Sarah's not his half-sister.
No.
Now, I really hope that you all are listening to this know that there's no way that he could possibly say that. And it goes further than that. Abraham's brother marries his niece.
What was Abraham?
Let's also talk about Lot's daughters. Let me finish. Lot's daughters also, let's be really clear that Lot's daughters intoxicate their father and have sex with him. You know this story probably better than I do.
Perfectly.
So that's why it feels messed up that you want to try to bring this up and then bring up the Bible when you know that incest is all throughout the Bible.
Right.
It is true that it seems that Deuteronomy seems to speak against
Leviticus.
Deuteronomy.
Well, they probably both do because it's about the law.
That's
about the Torah.
But I want to say I want to admit that I have read that in Deuteronomy.
Okay.
Right? But that's not to say that it doesn't happen. And it didn't happen because we see all throughout the Bible, we see a brother trick his sister into making soup for him so he can sleep with her. Now, you could tell me that story better than I can tell you the story.
You talk about David, right? But is it lawful?
And then what about
my question
Abraham's
to you
son
about
Isaac, who marries Rebecca? How about Jacob marrying Leah and Rachel?
Those are cousins. That's
his
not what I asked you.
sisters and his cousins.
No.
Jacob and Leah and Rachel. Okay, you're going to show me the lineage. If I'm wrong, and I'll admit it.
No sweat. I appreciate it.
He marries more than one person.
He marries
Leah.
He marries Leah
and
he marries Rachel.
Okay.
Is it Rachel or Rebecca? Rachel?
No,
Rachel.
Rachel and Leah.
It's Rachel and Leah. It's not a law against the law to marry your cousin. That's not what I said.
But isn't that incest?
No. That's
so what do you consider?
Sister, your brother. That's incest.
Okay.
And I asked you. So when you bring up, like, 1 second, you brought up David and David's son, rather, when David tricked his son. David's son, rather, tricked his sister. And then his sister said, don't rape me because that's never been done in all Israel. That's very important. She says? She said, don't do this thing. It's never been done in all Israel.
Is that what she said?
I planned on bringing it out tonight when I cut you on rape. So yes, I've read it.
Okay.
So now.
Okay. I hope you're going to read the quote at least.
Yeah, I'm going to read it.
Okay.
That wasn't something that was allowed to happen. You just admitted that it was okay for incest, for a daughter or a mother or a father or a brother to sleep with each other. That's the difference. Sarah is called Abraham, you know that Sarah is not half because they call her, Abraham, I'm going to read it for you. This is Genesis 11 and 29. When it says that Abram took Nahor, Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarah. The name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, the father of Ishkah. Terah, that's called her daughter-in-law, which lets you know it was a lawful marriage. So of course there were times when Abraham and Sarah was traveling and he said, tell him that you're my sister, because he didn't want them nasty Africans to take his wife. That's all that was.
That's very interesting.
You brought up Lot.
That's your interpretation.
That's not my interpretation. That's easily broken down. You brought up Lot with the, I don't know why you insist on bringing up Lot. I know why you bring up Lot, because it's like a scapegoat, because Lot's 2 daughters slept with him. Lot's 2 daughters are not from Abraham. That's Abraham's nephew.
Right.
That's something that they chose to do on their own. Right. And again, that does not make it lawful. What I love about the Bible...
what was the violation? What happened to them because they did it?
It doesn't say what any violation was done to them.
So can we assume that there was no penalty?
Well, at that time, when it comes to Lot, Lot's not under our care. Like, Lot's not an Israelite. He's not from Abraham. That's not Abraham's son.
Right.
If you want to tell me something that happened to Isaac, then maybe you could tell me something that happened to Isaac. If you want to tell me that something happened to Jacob, you could tell me something that happened to Jacob. I'll give an example. Jacob's son Reuben slept with his wife, slept with Jacob's wife.
I mentioned Reuben.
Right. What happened to Reuben for that? Did he get any punishment for that?
He's one of the few that does.
But he got punished for that though, right? Okay, then. So when you show laws that are broken in the Bible, you can show a punishment. When David committed adultery, he got punished for that. Right. But you can't show that in yours, because you yourself admitted that you can sleep with your brother or your mother or
Genesis
your sister.
20:12.
Yeah, I know that's where you're going to go. Go ahead, read it.
Okay, and it says, besides, she is indeed my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. So the text actually says that Abraham admits that Sarah is his half-sister.
Okay, now what we got to do is you got to start at verse 20. And what Abraham is saying is why he said what he said. Abimelech said unto Abraham, what sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? Verse 11, and Abraham said, so now what he's reading in 11 down is what made him say what he said to Abimelech, because he didn't want him to take her. That's why it says, because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they would slay me for my wife's sake. And yet indeed she is my daughter. So he's telling what thought process he went through when he said what he said.
So that makes it all right then.
Him lying?
No, that make it all right.
I don't understand. Why would he? No, I don't think the logic.
He was afraid. He's telling you why he said what he said.
So what does he say that makes her say, that saves her?
Verse.
Explain to me.
You asking 2 different questions. Are you saying why was she saved from getting taken?
No. I'm saying that.
Or why did he say it? Which one you asking?
What does he say that should save her?
But he didn't say anything.
What do you mean?
Abraham didn't say anything that saved her.
You just said that he said this because he was afraid that these people would take her.
Right.
So what did he say that
stopped them from taking her? When you read up a little bit in the story, it says that Abraham, I'm trying to skip for time's sake. It says, and Abraham journeyed from thenceward, verse 2. I'm just skipping just to get to your point. And Abraham said, Sarah, his wife, she is my sister, and Abimelech, king of Ger, sent and took Sarah. But the Most High came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, she is a man's wife. That's what saved her. Right. So when you drop down to verse 10 and read down, Abraham is giving you his thought process. What did happen? Even though he said, that's my sister, they still took her. So he thought by telling Sarah to say that that's my sister, that would save her. They still took her, and the Most High intervened and told Abimelech, and then Abimelech did not take her. Right. So when you read 10...
So let me see if I understand what you're saying, because I don't know if I understand what you're saying. Am I interrupting you? No. Am I interrupting you? If I am, I want you to finish.
But, all right, basically, just let me say this to clarify before you go on.
Go ahead.
Basically, what Kevin's trying to say is that he's giving you he explains his thought process. Verse 12 is the thought process that he had to tell him, and verse 13 is the thought process of the plan he concocted.
No, I understand what he's saying there. I'm trying to get the details of it, because I think that's a convenient explanation.
You know what he said earlier?
But I don't think that what you said follows in the text.
What he said, I just read. And what's interesting is how he said earlier when I read Control Her, and I only read that portion of Maxims, Ptahhotep.
I want you to read the whole thing.
He said, no, you told me I had to read it, but you pulled this, but you didn't read it.
Right.
What do you mean? You want me to read it?
No, that ain't what I said.
I said that I would give it to you to read it, but you refused, so that's why.
I didn't refuse. I just read.
I said I'll give it to you so you can read it. I'm talking about with the Maxim Ptahhotep.
No. You said that I should read it all before I bring it to you.
I've read this.
Then how you don't know?
Because it's not that I don't know, I disagree with your analysis. And I don't think that your analysis follows by the text.
It does follow.
That's what I'm saying to you.
You said you don't. You said that you read it, but when I asked you, when you asked me how was she saved, so how could you read it and not know that the Lord came to her bema?
I don't
so you don't
agree. I don't agree
it's
with
basic reading.
No, I don't agree with that.
Then why did you, if you read it, why did you ask me how was she saved?
No, because I wanted you to say it.
Y'all see this?
I wanted you to say it.
Y'all see this?
Listen, you say all the time.
No, don't get it on him. Get it on him.
You to say
he said, I wanted you to say it.
Yeah.
He did not know how she was saved.
Stop it.
He did not know.
Listen, let's be really clear. I disagree with your analysis.
When you bring that up,
I agree that he says that she's his sister and his wife.
That's not.
He doesn't say she's his sister and his wife?
He does, but he tells you why. He said why he did it. He said he did it because he said God is not in this place and they'll take my... This ain't even the only instance. He did it twice. Right. This ain't the only instance that he said, Abraham, this is tell him that you my sister. He said it in another place, tell him you my sister. And so that was his theme
so which
to
one
try
do you
to
think
spare.
He really is? Do you think she's really his wife or his sister?
She's his wife lawfully. That's what she is.
So now, see, you're flipping. I wish you could hear what he is saying.
Lord have mercy.
Based on what you're saying, your argument is very poor.
That's
not. Why I had you
because I said that that's his wife.
So you're telling me that
that's not his sister.
To take his sister than his wife.
That's what his thought process was.
I'm saying that is what you. That's what you believe his thought process.
That's what he said.
So you think that she wasn't his sister?
She was not his literal sister. I'm going to read for you. Genesis, the 12th chapter, and the 11th verse. And it came to pass, when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai, his wife, Behold, now I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when them Egyptians, them stinking ass Hamites, shall see thee, they shall say, This is his wife, and they shall kill me, but they will save thee alive. I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for my sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. So this is the first time that he used that.
Wait a minute. It does not say, the text does not say that I'm going to say you're my sister, but you are not. It does not say that. That's why I want you to read it. It says, no, wait a minute. Listen, when you get sliced and diced, you have to admit it. Because the text does not say, I am saying this strictly so they do not take you. It does not say
all you got to do is keep reading.
What it says
That's the problem.
is,
you think you got your answer. It's right in the chapter.
What it says is that I'm going to tell them that you're my sister and my wife. That's what it says. It does not say you are not my sister.
I don't know what version that you.
So tell me in the text where it says that he is.
It says say. It says say. I pray thee. He's telling her to say something.
Yeah.
Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister.
Right.
That it may be well for me for thy sake. He's telling her to say, that's my sister. Is he not? Who does not comprehend simple reading comprehension?
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Of course, go ahead.
Does it say that he is telling her to say something that is not true?
Yes.
Where?
Right there.
Where? That is not what it says.
It's not true, though.
Brother, you got to take a
when you read verse 19, what sayest thou? She is my sister.
Tell them that you are my sister. It does not mean that she's not his sister.
Why would he say it?
Because he wants for them to understand
that's not his sister, though.
It does not say that.
So why isn't it in the lineage?
Why does it say? Why does it say this is terror?
Where's the lineage of Sarah?
Here's the point, though. You have the lineage of where Abraham comes from, right?
Where's the lineage of Sarah?
Listen, focus for a minute. I help you out. If it came down to the fact that she came from Terah, it would have been listed. That's
you
the
have
point.
to understand that this lineage is patrilineage.
I'm going to show you very.
So that there are many times that women.
You read it said what? It said that she's the daughter of my father, but not my mother.
Right.
So you just said if it comes down to a patriarchal lineage, then that means that it would have been listed. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, because what they're trying to do.
Let me show you.
No.
Okay, let me just show you something. I'm going to show you something.
No biblical scholar would say what you just said. Often in the lineages,
I just want to.
You will see. Let me finish the statement, and I promise I'll come here. It's going to be a quick statement.
No sweat.
You will often see that women are omitted; their names are not included. Often in the lineages, and I think Tazaryach has even admitted that.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
But what I want to say is in Genesis 20:12, it says, "Yet indeed she is my sister; she is the daughter of my father." That's what it says there, right? And I told
but not the daughter of my mother.
But I told you what that means, right?
Right.
In Genesis 11.
And it says, but not the daughter of my mother.
And I told you that the reason why she said that was because, hold on, I'm just getting the verse here.
Okay.
The reason why Abraham said that was he was running down why he was saying this is my sister, so that they wouldn't take him.
That is an analysis that is not followed necessarily. Now listen, let me say this to you. It's possible that that's what's happening. But
in Genesis 11 and 31, in Genesis 20 and 12, Abraham, when he's telling her that story, he says to her, he says to the king, that this is the daughter of my father. We know that Terah is Abraham's father. We do know that. When it talks about Terah's relationship to Sarah, it says that that's his daughter-in-law. If that was Genesis 11 and 31, and Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law. It doesn't say his daughter. So in Genesis 20 and 12, when he's saying, this is indeed my sister, the daughter of my father, but not my mother, he's telling her, he's giving a rundown of his thought process. In Genesis 11, when it's running, now all of this is Nahor's and Terah's and all of their lineage. So when it says daughter-in-law, if that was his actual daughter, it wouldn't say daughter-in-law. The reason why it's saying daughter-in-law, because they were lawfully married.
Can I ask you a question? What is the Hebrew term for daughter-in-law?
I would have to look it up.
You have to. And I want to come
daughter-in-law means they were married.
Let me say something to you.
Here's what I know about law.
Let me say something, because I let you finish. Before I put something in here, I wish you understood the amount of research that I do.
Not enough.
And so I want you to hear.
On the Bible, you do none.
I want you to hear that when you say something, sometimes I'm asking you to say it so that when we come back, you have to admit that what you said is does not follow.
Now,
that's all I'm going to say.
I got you.
And then we can move on.
You see how it say daughter-in-law, right? When I read in Genesis 11 and 31, when it says Terah was daughter-in-law. The Hebrew for that is kala, a bride, hence a son's wife, bride, daughter-in-law, spouse. The key word, what did I read earlier, y'all?
But you have, that's not what I'm asking you to do.
You asking me what is a daughter-in-law?
I want you to read what the actual text says.
Because we don't agree with incest, only Kemet agrees with incest. That's why Genesis 12, Abraham said, they'll take my wife.
Right.
So now what I want to deal with after that.
So before you move, what about Lot's daughters?
What about Lot's? Okay, you bring up Lot's daughters. Lot's daughters is not our lineage.
Right.
They weren't given our law. It's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Lot had a different father, different mother, different lineage than from Abraham. That's why when I said earlier, I think in the chat when y'all was doing the, you and my aunt was doing the thing, and I said Lot is not a major figure. The story is major, but Lot himself is not a major figure.
How in the world that you could say Lot is not a major figure?
Let me explain what I mean. You're focusing on Lot and what his daughters did. That has nothing to do with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what I mean when I say so. What does that have to do with?
So explain to me, because are they not Jewish women?
Say that one more time.
Are they not Jewish women?
No.
Hebrew women?
No.
So who are they?
They would be considered Hebrew women.
I don't. When I say Jewish, now let me apologize, because to me, I use those words interchangeably.
I understand that, but let me clear something up, because a lot of people don't understand.
Sure.
Understand? Like, for example, the covenants don't go to Hebrews. You understand?
That's right.
They go
Right.
to Hebrew Israelites.
Right.
It's the Israelite lineage according to the, once again, I have to say this over and over, as far as biblical narrative, you understand, is concerned. So now, meaning that there's 5 Hebrew families on the planet.
Right.
You understand? You can say the Arabs are Hebrews.
Right.
You can say that who we would consider the Chinese or the Japanese are Hebrews, which would be the offspring of Lot.
That's
you understand? So when it comes down to those Hebrews, that doesn't concern anything because the law was given to Israel. It wasn't given to Hebrews.
Thank you. Let me try to understand then. So you're saying that the laws, your laws, are not actually in effect for Lot and his daughters. Is that what you're saying?
No, it wouldn't be in effect for Lot and his daughters.
Why not?
Wow.
They don't come from us.
Well, where do they come from? Explain.
The laws don't, I didn't mean to say come from us, I'm sorry. Lot doesn't fall under us. Our lineage is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
That's right.
Psalms 147, 19 to 20 say, he showeth his statutes unto Jacob. I'm paraphrasing, unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any other nation.
Right.
So the nations that came from Lot, which became the Moabites and the Ammonites, that has nothing to do with Israel. So what Lot's daughters did, which they got him drunk, by the way. Lot
Sure.
did not.
Yeah, no, I said that. I said
Lot
that
did not. Lot did not willingly do that, which would make it unmisogynistic. Lot got drunk, and they pretty much took it. They pretty much took it
right now.
No, I'm just no, because you. Oh no, I don't disagree with the incest either.
We're talking about incest.
I don't disagree with the incest.
Misogyny.
Right, I don't disagree with the incest either. But they got him drunk to do it. He wouldn't have done it sober.
No, I did. I said that when I read the quote. I read.
But the reason why, number one, so Lot wouldn't be punished for that because he was drunk when it happened.
So don't you think? So are you saying that God's providence only comes to those 5 families?
No, God's providence or covenants come through Israel.
Right.
And then from the way it's supposed to be, Israel is the top and trickles down and everybody else is under us.
Right.
But that's how
what
it's
I'm
supposed
trying
to be.
to understand is why would angels go to protect Lot?
Angels wasn't going necessarily to protect Lot. That was only at Abraham's behest because he knew his nephew was dead. They was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, which is what they did.
What happens when they enter his home?
He protects them. Like anybody should protect. If you bring somebody into your house under your guise, you should protect them. That's why they were allowed to escape. If Lot and them wouldn't have protected them angels, they would have died too.
And so, well, they wouldn't have died because they then dispense with the
I'm
mob.
trying to get this. I'm a little
They
lost.
dispense with the mob.
Protect the angels. Were they men?
They were men. What happens in the story? What happens in the story? And this is for everybody. I know most of your audience probably is familiar with this, but there
my audience is.
There are people in your audience that are not.
Before you read that, in Genesis 12 and 19, the Pharaoh himself says, "What sayest thou? She is my sister, so I might have take her to meet a wife." Just so you know. But you can go ahead with your Lot story.
Well, I mean that's
I know.
It's written.
Now you want to say the story is written.
No.
When the Pharaoh just said that's a
Hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying.
No, we're going to go right back to that.
Let me say something very clearly. This story does not describe the Kemetic tradition at all.
What story?
Nothing in the Bible describes it.
I would hope not. Fuck Kemet.
So you need to understand. So you need to understand that you say. Now they're going to clap.
Yeah, right.
You said it don't describe Kemet. I'm glad it don't describe Kemet.
Is you said that you talk about nasty Egyptians, all kinds of stuff in your book.
But you say we raping though. What's worse? If I just call you nasty or you say we raping women, which one is worse? I mean, let's keep it 100.
I'm not saying because I'm offended.
Oh, okay, no sweat.
That's not. Let me finish. But I just want to be very clear that the story that you're reading is a mythological story that is not written in the time that you have placed it. And it does not describe the Kemetic people.
Okay, I got you.
This is the people. If these are your people, they have continually written themselves into more powerful nations' history.
Angels can be men,
and let's
as well.
talk
They can look
about.
like you and I.
Well, we know these are men. Angels can only be men in this.
Before we go deep into Lot, you saying mythological?
No.
You said something.
There are no female angels.
You said something.
There's no.
Wait, just hold that. I'll answer the question.
No, I don't know why he's dithering here.
Get right to this.
The answer is no.
You cannot teach.
A female can be an angel, like the woman can be an angel.
There are no female angels.
There is no record of a female angel in the scriptures.
That's right.
So, but let me get back to you. You said that the stories is mythological, right? That brings me back to one of the questions. Then we can get right back to the Bible because I want to do Deuteronomy.
Something else. We didn't finish talking about Lot.
No. Just I don't want to forget this because I forgot it.
Though.
What are we going to talk about with Lot? What more are we going to talk about?
Yeah, that's because you said what you wanted to say. I didn't get to respond. Okay. What I want to say to you is it's very clear that Lot, I don't know why you say Lot is a minor figure, because, I mean, the amount of ink that's spent on him is considerable.
It's only one chapter.
And I want one chapter in what you would consider the holiest book. That's a lot. That's a lot. There are really minor characters that just mentioned once or twice.
What about the Africans?
This talks about his family. It talks about all of that. It talks extensively about him. It talks about the two men who happen to be angels that come into his home, and he provides them shelter. Right. And in order to, there's a raping mob. By the way, there are a lot of raping mobs of men in the Bible. And so the raping mob comes to the door and says, we want to take those men that we raped them. And he says, I'll offer you my virgin daughters. Right. That's what he says.
But they was coming to get
So you better be clear. They don't take the virgin daughters. The angels dispense with them. But what I'm saying to you is that whenever you say the name Lot, there's a lot of problems.
But those was Africans that was trying to sleep with them.
How? Where is this occurring?
Pull up Sodom for me, the people of Sodom.
Come on, Captain. Right. You get that.
These are Africans.
Those are African. It wasn't Israelites.
These are Africans.
It for sure wasn't Israelites.
You better believe something very clearly. Sodom and Gomorrah never existed.
It wasn't
This is a mythological story.
Look, that's your escape.
There is no Sodom and Gomorrah.
That's your escape right there.
And the reason why he wants to argue that is because
I'm not arguing that.
Captain Tazaryach is overly literal.
Wait, hold on.
It's the reason
Can you just
why
hold, he's holding the question too. Just hold it for
had
a
to
second.
change their name when their greatest prophecy in 2000 didn't come true. Because they're
let me tell you
overly literal.
something.
By the way, you
Don't
never
put
dealt
the
with
camera.
that. And I don't think
I'm going to tell you why. I don't have an issue dealing with that. But that's the filibuster that I was talking about.
How's that filibustering?
Because what we're talking about, we could talk about the 2000 prophecy at the end of this or on a different day. I don't want to get distracted. I know when people try to throw distractions.
What you're doing
I do it all the time on the camp.
It may seem
but
like
we was talking about Lot. We was talking about Lot.
It may seem like a distraction because you have some questions. I don't even know what questions you have. So maybe it's a distraction from the questions you have.
But I said the same thing to you earlier. And you said okay, and then now you bring it up again.
But it's like an hour later. Right. It's after 12 o'clock. It's an hour later, and we still haven't dealt with it.
And just so you know, as far as why, okay, regardless of how you feel about our text, you understand me, it's been proven, even you said that your whole record is mythos, or whatever the case may be.
I said my whole record is mythos?
Whole record, but as far as all the
you said it's mythological. Right. It's not literal.
Right. It's not literal.
All right, so back to my topic now. You understand? The scripture says what was written aforetime was written for all learning. Right. You understand? So now, when you have the record of Lot, one, the reason why it's bringing it is because Lot fathered two nations. So the Bible gives the history of the planet. You understand? It tells where every single race
The Bible gives the history of the planet.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to help you, which is why we can find out where the Arabs came from, where the Chinese and the Japanese came from, where the Africans came from, where the Caucasians came from.
Let me say to you.
I'm not done yet. So on and so forth. So now, when you continue to take a look at that story, you also start to see that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. You understand? Which is why even in the New Testament, when it makes reference to it, it was for an ensample, so that nobody would know whether, like you said, oh, there was that murderous, raping, what do you call it? Mob. You understand? Now, when you read even in the New Testament, it says that it was for an ensample that nobody should live that ungodly. You understand? To continue on from there, it says that that's why it was turned into ash. So that it would be an ensample, so we would know we should not rape. We should not live in that condition. And if we were to be righteous, we would be sighing and crying in there, meaning, you understand, being vexed in the spirit like Lot was while he was living there.
Which you can see today.
One more point, it was because it also shows that the Most High is merciful, that he heard Abraham and even saved his nephew when the whole city should have been destroyed. That's the entire message of that chapter. So you want to know why there's so much? Because there's so much you can get from it.
And, there is a lot you can get
and that's a hell of a breakdown.
And I think that it's really good let me respond. Now you're going to tag team.
There wasn't really nothing to respond. I don't want to waste this much time.
There is something to respond to. There's a lot to respond to. He's agreeing that there's a lot on Lot. Lot is not a minor character in the Bible.
He wasn't talking about Lot. He was talking about Sodom and Gomorrah.
If you look at his life, we mentioned Sodom and Gomorrah, all of it, you're going to see many things that are disturbing that occur there. And so now you want to describe him as a minor character. He is not a minor character.
And let's go further. Just said the moral of that story is to not be a homosexual.
Let me finish. And if you think the moral of the story is not to be a homosexual, maybe it is. I'm not going to even argue that. Right? Maybe it is. That's not my point. right?
What do they call people that do that today? Sodomites.
My point is, I'm not even arguing sodomy. I'm not arguing that. But my point is that we have to be very clear
Wait till we get to the last part.
that even rape is in your text. Even rape.
No, wait.
And I know you would like to, it's punishable by death when you're raping another man's wife. Because
It's
now you're
punishable by
taking
death
someone,
when you raping, period.
No.
Absolutely.
If she is betrothed, it is punishable by death.
Okay, no sweat.
If she is not
If she's not betrothed, it's not punishable
you pay
by
for
death.
her,
Okay.
and she becomes your
Give
wife.
me two. We're going to deal with that in 5 minutes. I just got to ask you one question.
Go ahead.
You say that the ancient stories were mythological.
I didn't say the ancient stories.
I'm talking
Much of the Bible.
No, I'm not talking about the Bible. I'm not even talking about, I want to talk about Kemet. That's why I'm saying ancient. I'm only talking about Kemet in this regard. So like when we talk about Geb and Horus and all that, it was not literal.
No.
Right?
They were not. I don't believe that there's a dude walking around with a bird head. No.
Okay.
I don't.
But what we do know is that statues are erected to them. What we do know is that there were ritual sacrifices done to them. We do know that, right?
Yes.
So can you show me in an ancient text where they did not take it, where they took it mythological and not literal?
I really wish that I knew you were going to ask that question.
What I mean by, and just so I could finish,
Okay.
What I mean by that is when somebody tell me something is mythological, and I'm already knowing it's not real.
No.
So although I'm gonna hear, right, I got you. So although I'm gonna hear stories about it, I know it's garbage.
No, that's wrong. That's very wrong.
So when you saying
that's very wrong, and that's the reason why you were overly literal. Because when you hear something is mythological, you hear that it's garbage.
But let me no. What I'm saying is no. I'm not saying. Well, yeah, I am saying.
Yeah, you just said that.
But what I'm saying by that is, you say that the ancient Kemet stories are mythological. They're not real.
Well,
but you can find.
Let me make a distinction. Let me make a distinction. Sometimes I talk to you about history, right? You're not going to find Hatshepsut in some of the spiritual text, right? So sometimes I talk to you about history. No, she wasn't in the spiritual text. She's a literal person. And then you're not going to find King Tutankhamen or King Tut, as you like to call him, in the spiritual text.
No, but I'm not. That's
because
not what
he's a literal person.
But
so
that's not what I'm talking about.
Sometimes I talk to you about history, and sometimes I talk to you about the great spiritual.
But what I'm talking about is, let's take Anubis for example. Anpu. I'll do that. Right? Let's take Anpu. There are a straight up belief in that.
What do you mean straight up belief?
They have tombs erected. They have mummified dogs that were sacrificed.
What does that mean, tombs erected? What do you mean?
Tombs, pyramids. I call them tombs. Pyramids.
And in them pyramids,
there's statues.
They
found 1 million mummified. They found 1 million mummified dogs. Now they might have exaggerated the number, but they found 1 million mummified dogs that were dedicated to Anpu.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
So you're saying that it's mythological, but it seems like it was worship.
You know what the challenge is? You know what the... You finished?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're saying that it's mythological, but that's worship. The pharaohs, not all of them, but the pharaohs, if they were dying, they would kill their servants. Now, not all of them, but they would kill their servants.
You're adding something new that I got to respond to before you deal with the first one.
But this is, if you would have interrupted me, this is all the same.
It's not, because it's like,
I'm giving you my premise.
I got to respond to.
No.
You get that from Les Voix.
Wow.
No, I'm giving you. See, you look at it like layers, but what I'm trying to, I cannot present a valid argument of why I'm saying that they took it literal without showing you the things that they did that said it was literal, that shows that it was literal. That's my point.
Well, let me.
And because you keep interrupting me is why you think it's a point to point to point like I'm changing. If you'd have just let me talk, I would have said the reason how you know they took it in the literal sense is because you had some pharaohs that would kill their servants. You had statues that was erected to them. They believed in the afterlife. They believed that they would meet Anpu, meet him, weigh it out. They believed in that unless you're going to show me on some ancient walls on sa.neter where they did not believe in that. And if they did not believe in that, then they're no different than white people that created Santa Claus got you celebrating Christmas.
Can I show you a picture?
Right.
Can I show you a picture?
Yes.
Now, see, when you do that, I don't mean to be disrespectful.
I'm asking a question.
But
I'm
let me just say this
telling
really
you
quickly, because I don't want you to think I'm trying to disrespect you. I'm not. Sometimes when you do that, you layer like 4 or 5 thoughts that are incorrect. And because I am, as far as I know, someone that you would consider someone who has studied and practiced ancient Kemetic spirituality, and I know that it's not just a conversation between 3 brothers in front of the TV set watching a ball game, it is incumbent upon me to try to deal with each of them. And when you do that, then you say I'm filibustering. But the reality is you've layered 4 or 5 things on top of that I need to address. So it becomes difficult.
All you got to do is just answer
So let me say, I just want to explain to you why. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's hard. Now let me say something to you.
No, he ain't got
An idea is so much more powerful than an actual item. If you don't think that an idea is important, sorry?
I said Santa Claus is okay. Because the idea
from your tradition, not mine.
Because the idea is important.
So I want to be really clear that when you look at those little Chinese people that stood in front of tanks and said they were fighting for democracy, they didn't think there was a dude named democracy. Throwing a rock at a tank. You know how many people died? An idea is sometimes more powerful than an actual person. And so, because this is why I say you're overly literal. Because you said if they knew it was myth, they would know it wasn't real. No, but myth is more real than a person. Because a person lives and dies. They end. They have their end.
Just let them.
But myth actually occurs continually. So that myth is more important than history. And so just because you see mummified dogs, that doesn't mean that they thought that Anpu was a literal person. Let me show you a picture, and maybe this will explain it to you. Because I think you would admit that I am the practitioner, I'm the expert in ancient Kemet here. So let me at least explain.
No, we're not. No, we don't.
I'm not the expert in Kemet?
No, I was talking to sa.neter. He said we take it literal.
Let me show you really quickly. Okay, now you've seen this image before, but perhaps no one has ever explained it to you. Maybe perhaps no one has explained it to you. We're gonna have to do another one of these.
You know, I had invited you on my show a while ago.
We're gonna have to do another one of these. No, you've seen this before, right?
I actually like the dialogue.
Yes, I actually don't think it's that bad.
You've seen this before. This image here,
Yeah.
right? Usually they call it the judgment scene, right? Now, one of the things that I want you to understand is that this is not literal.
Right.
And this is one of the ways that we know that it's not literal. As you look at this image, you're going to see someone who enters and is asking to enter. Listen, you got to listen.
I'm listening. No, we listening.
Guys, that's disrespectful. I'm answering your question. And then you're going to say, well, you didn't answer the question, but you have to listen.
Well, I'm going to get a snack. Go ahead.
Yeah, I need a snack too. I'm not even hating on you for getting the snack. So look, so if you look at this, you see him enter, and he's trying to enter into heaven, right? Right? Now, the people that are here, the Neteru, some of them say, Neteru, not Heru.
Neteru.
Yeah, Neteru, or Netchers, right? The divine forces. Okay. Some of them say that he should go into heaven, and some of them say he shouldn't go in heaven. It's tied. So then he has to have his heart weighed. And when his heart is weighed, it actually is, he is vindicated. He becomes what we call Makeru, true of voice. And so then when he comes here, if you can read the glyphs, guess what they call him? He becomes a Sar. So that is why we know that a Sar is not a literal person if all of us can be a Sar. So we're talking about a spiritual concept of one who is Makeru, true of voice, one that is justified, who is righteous, who has balanced the scales. So this is just a simple way to show you that this is not a literal story.
But they literally mummified dogs.
Absolutely they did. Because sometimes a concept is more, listen, there are statues of the Lady of Justice right in this city. And you see a lady with a blindfold. By the way, we didn't put it with a blindfold. That's what the Tamhu did.
That's Ma'at.
And she's holding, it is Ma'at. It's a Tamhu version of Ma'at. Yeah, and she's holding the scales. Do you think that the Tamhu judge in the back says, I don't know how to decide this. Can you get the lady to come and explain it? And the lady with scales comes? The reason why is because it's a principle. But they make statues to her.
Okay,
there's statues to her everywhere.
There's a principle called Santa Claus. And the principle of Santa, and the principle, let me finish. I'll let you go that time, because as I'm looking to listen to him, anybody listening to that, no, he did not answer my damn question.
That's right.
My question was, they believed that they would go to Anpu in the afterlife. They erected statues, they mummified dogs. That was something they believed in, literally.
No.
If you don't, let me tell you something. You brought up that statue, they believe in that democracy. They believe in democracy. That's why they believe in that statue. They believe in Anubis.
Literally.
They believe in Anpu. They believe that that's why they mummify. You don't put that much dedication into something that you don't believe.
Right.
Well, period.
Listen.
Now, but you said,
go ahead.
But you said that you can. And I don't know if you're aware, but I asked you this question in the summer.
You did.
I asked you the same question.
You did.
And you literally gave me the same answer.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think you heard what I said.
Because you want to make it seem like they did not believe in that.
No, that
but
is
you
not what I
can't
said.
show
You're
me
not
nothing
listening.
from their records.
You are not listening to me. You're not listening to me. Because when you, at the very least, you should
even
be
their rituals of the pharaohs and the incest was because they believed that they were God on the earth, and that's why they were no sweat. I'll tell you what.
I think you misunderstood that.
No, I didn't misunderstand it.
I think
I'm gonna tell you where the only confusion comes. You, Jabari, right?
Mm-hmm. That's who I am.
No. I know you, Jabari.
You, Jabari, right?
You, Jabari.
I'm sorry, I'm Fred. Let me. You know what I'm saying?
No, like you, Jabari. You, Reggie. You, Shaka.
Is that Reggie?
No. I'm trying to give you a picture. You heard me say when I said this is where the confusion comes in.
Oh, you're talking about Reggie Mabry.
Yeah, Marbury.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's what I mean. I'm naming different people.
Okay.
So
I thought that brother was Reggie. I was like that.
Nah, you take Jabari, you take Reggie, you take Shaka, you take Seti, you take Young Pharaoh, you take Amon Ra Squad. You take. Just listen to what I'm saying. Let's listen to what I'm saying.
You got to hear.
At one point he did.